opening act of the 2025 USL Championship playoffs comes your way from Pittsburgh, where the Riverhounds welcome Hartford Athletic. Happy to have you with us on ESPN Plus. Alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malfa. Let's take a look at the bracket at large, Gary, and enjoy it in all its glory while we have it. It was all coming down to this, and it's finally here.
Some wonderful teams. Very difficult to call who's going through and who's going out. I'm suggesting that all these games, virtually everyone, should be a close one in these conference quarterfinals.
And when the margins are this slim, sometimes it is simply who's home, who's away. And Pittsburgh have been outstanding at Highmark Stadium.
Burton Jock is in here with a goal against Rhode Island. He'll be coming off the bench, but most of the trouble they create comes from that man up front, Augie Williams. That one, a little square pass to Danny Griffin against Indy. And if it doesn't come from Augie Williams, it comes out wide. Junior Etu on one side, Luke Biasa the other. This one, Etu into Charles All. Goals coming from everywhere for Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
And even when the goals haven't been coming, they've still been in good shape because of the Modelo player to watch, Eric Dick, on the back end.
Yeah, 11 clean sheets. That's joined second in the USL this year, and it's his second season with double-digit clean sheets. Wonderful goalkeeper. Very difficult to beat. That's the task facing Hartford Athletic tonight.
And Hartford may be one of the long shots to have gotten here if you looked at how things started. 1-7-3, last in the championship going into June 20th. They had a lot of injuries early on. There were some days where they could hardly field a team. Then you fast forward where things start turning around. 12-5-5 after that. They lift the trophy in the Jägermeister Cup. They clinch the 5 seed. They tie their record for points in a season. And while they might not have much playoff experience as a club, these two players have playoff experience under Brendan Burke.
And they're going to be so important for me, especially Michi and Galina. He scores goals, 3 goals in his last 3 matches. His pace up front is absolutely electric. He can catch Pittsburgh Riverhounds in transition if the Riverhounds are not careful here tonight.
This is the 10th meeting all time between these two clubs. It's been one-sided in Pittsburgh's favor at 7-1-1, but you can throw all of that out. It's about the next 90, maybe the next 120. It's Pittsburgh and Hartford to kick things off in the USL Championship playoffs.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. Well, that's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams, to build them from scratch, from the heart? For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
Tip the scales. More life, less work. That's balance. Clock out and step onto scenic hiking trails where colorful views guide the way. Experience fall in Pennsylvania's Laurel Highlands the way it was meant to be. Bold, beautiful, and breathtaking. Find your adventure or kick back and relax. Your work will be waiting when you get back. It's all about balance. Make fall happen at GoLaurelHighlands.com.
Steel Army has been waiting for a night like this here at Highmark Stadium. The Pittsburgh supporters left with a sour taste in their mouth as to how the 2023 playoffs ended. They're happy to have the Riverhounds back home again. And we meet the starting lineups brought to you by IC Light, beginning with Rob Vincent and the Riverhounds.
No changes to the team that drew with Phoenix Rising, and why should they? In fact, this is the same lineup for the third game in a row, so consistency there from coach Rob Vincent. 3-4-3. Watch out for the wingbacks Biasi and Etu, both going up at the same time, and they'll be pushing Griffin through from midfield, looking for his incisive passes.
On the other side for Hartford, this is a team that was very hot. All of a sudden, they lose their last 2 games of the season, but this is still the group that has the full trust of Brendan Burke.
2 changes to the side that lost at Lou City. Anthony Sahaha back in goals. John Bernard drops to the bench. And then a tactical change. Beverly Makangila coming into more of a defensive midfield position. Junior Moreira, the wide attacking winger, goes to the bench. And with that, they're going to have, we think, 5 in the midfield. And they've done that to combat Pittsburgh's strength in midfield. There's going to be a real battle for that ball in that midfield space, I would suggest.
Now, you and I, Gary, were chatting coming into the week. You look at every single matchup around the league, and I promise, although I guess the folks at home have no reason to believe me, I'm just going to have to ask you to believe me here, but we chatted coming in that this, of all the playoff games, is probably the hardest one to predict because on paper and based on what our eyes have told us as of late, is the most even of all the matchups.
It is very even. If you look at Pittsburgh home record, only lost 3 of their 15 games at home this season, so they're very strong at Highmark Stadium. But Hartford had a 6-match away winning streak, which takes some doing, and on top of that, they won the Jägermeister Cup away at Sac Republic. So Hartford fantastic on the road this season. Pittsburgh really strong at home. To your point, very difficult to call this match.
That's what makes it fun as a viewer. You have no idea what to expect tonight, other than 90 and perhaps 120 intense minutes out of these 2 teams. It's Pittsburgh in their trademark black and yellow from left to right, Hartford in their white from right to left. Eligio Araguin is the referee in green. A train rolling by on the tracks just beyond the far side of the field as we get things rolling now in the USL Championship playoffs. Glad to have you with us this evening on ESPN Plus with Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. All starts here today in the Terminix USL playoffs. A couple more matches coming your way tomorrow, all culminating in the final on November the 22nd. Will one of these 2 teams hop on that magic carpet and make a ride to the final? Everybody in the East looking at the likes of Louisville and Charleston. Can one of these sides play spoiler? When it's all said and done, on the volley here, right to Dick. Opening minute shot on target for Hartford. They will want to push the tempo in this game, whereas Pittsburgh will want to slow things down. And there's your first look, being direct in nature.
That's a good start from Hartford to get that shot on target. Not too difficult for Eric Dick to deal with, but to your point, I'm just curious to see how much Hartford do go forward. They do want to win that battle in midfield. They do want to stay tight on Augie Williams, so it's a balancing act from both sides as to how much you throw forward and how much you keep in defense.
Here's Michi and Galina dropping it back. Another early shot saved by Dick. Rebound is in! The offside flag comes up. But 90 seconds into this game, a massive warning shot from Hartford to Pittsburgh.
Well, we picked up Michi and Galina as being a player who could impact this game hugely, and that's exactly what he does. And he gets away here with pace down this left-hand side, gets a decent ball into the box. Initial good save from Eric Dick, and it just pops right out there for Samuel Carriaga, with the offside flag already up there. So early on, Hartford with 2 good looks at goal.
Biasi to Augie Williams. Free kick on the way for Pittsburgh. This is an area where Brendan Burke showed some concern, and Rob Vincent noted on the other side for Pittsburgh that they have to take advantage. Set pieces, something that could favor Pittsburgh tonight.
Set pieces are important in any game, especially in knockout matches. That can just be the difference between seeing you through to the next round and out you go. By the way, Makangila there, one of the 2 changes, or the only outfield change, we should say, for Hartford. The other change in goal, of course, Anthony Siaha coming back. But he's there to do exactly that, to slow things down. Maybe not to give away the free kick, but certainly to slow the Riverhounds down in transition.
A lot of big targets to look for here. Augie Williams, Sean Suber, Beto Idrach, Guillaume Vactor. Dangerous team in the air, especially with Robbie Mertz providing the service. Mertz, Williams, glancing header. He put it wide, nobody making that back post run.
That's not a bad chance there. Augie Williams, he's got a header from what, 15, 16 yards out. I'm not saying he's going to beat Siaha, but if he gets it on target, he might have forced the keeper to make a save and push it back into traffic. Just fancy a player of his ability. Augie Williams should have found the target there.
The game hasn't wanted you to speak much, Gary, but give us your keys to the game. Building a win presented by 84 Lumber.
For Pittsburgh supply Augie Williams, that's got to be the main thing. He's their top scorer. He's just a wonderful player. We've seen him in the league year after year scoring goals, and this is a sort of game in which you need him. For Hartford, you mentioned set pieces. Funny enough, Brendan Burke picking that out as their big talking point as well. He said we have a height advantage over some of the Pittsburgh centre-backs, and we intend to use it from throw-ins and corners and other set pieces.
Yeah, that was something they picked up from their loss last week against Louisville, where they looked at that Louisville side and felt that they just use all those moments as Carriaga goes for goal and flashes it high. But a Louisville team last week, between corners and free kicks and throw-ins, where they just took it to Hartford in that 1-0 win over Hartford. Brendan Burke wanted his team to pull some of that, to your point. Use the throw-ins, use the corners, use the free kicks, find a way, and they have their first corner here of the evening. Corner brought to you by Cohen Markets. Short to Ngalina. Work back for Anderson, deflected on the way through. Offside. That's something that comes off the training ground, but you have to make sure you time it up right coming off the corner flag.
100%. That sloppy play there from Hartford. They know they have to get onside. And as you say, you would have practiced that time and time again in training. So lost opportunity, because the ball not back in the box was a good one. But just to pick up on the back of that Lou City defeat to Hartford and the pressure that Lou City put on, and coach Brendan Burke saying that was the best possible lesson they could have the game before the playoffs. He said the efficiency from Lou City was phenomenal. If you look at touches in the opposition box, which is always a good measure of how good you were going forward, 52 touches for Lou City, just 8 for Hartford Athletics. So a lesson, as you say, in how to get the ball into dangerous areas, and the only question today is, have they learned from that lesson?
Tonight's injury report brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Clean bill of health reported by both teams, which you like at this stage of the season. Into the playoffs now. And a corner coming for Pittsburgh, brought to you by Cohen Markets. You see Augie Williams waving his arms to the crowd, wanting the Steel Army into it more early here, 7th minute. And they have an opportunity.
And again, these set pieces for both sides, if you can get one in, you go 1-0 up. In cup matches, 1-0 up is psychologically so much more important than a league match where you know you can recover next week. Here, no recovery, you fall behind, the pressure really gets ratcheted up.
Robbie Mertz, only 2 assists this season for a Pittsburgh team that at times struggled in terms of manufacturing goals, but his service has always been on point. With the club since 2023, had a stint before then in 2019 and 2020, Robbie Mertz. Altogether his 5th season with the club. Mertz drops it in. Sample was closest. I don't get to do it again.
I'm sure if there was soccer taking place, they were wrestling, because there was also pulling and shoving and holding on. Impossible for the referee and his assistants to keep an eye on everything.
Second effort from Mertz. We'll have a third bite at the apple here. Deflected. Hartford holds strong for now. Looking to break now the other way. Flicked on to Ngalina. Flag stayed down. He's brought down. It could be a card coming here. Let's see what Eligio Arreguin decides. This is going to set the tone for the rest of the night in terms of where the referee sees the threshold. You see the argument from the players.
Referee's putting his arm up saying, I'll only talk to the captain. That's a yellow card for me. It's a professional foul. Luke Biasi had to make it because Ngalina was gone. So I'm pretty sure the referee will come out with a card. Let's just see once we get back to the pictures. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't. Because it wasn't just a trip, it was a professional foul.
And he just did give the card.
Brendan Burke sort of suggesting with some colloquial terminology that it should be a yellow card.
Well, while we were showing you the replay, he was a lot angrier, and then he saw Eligio Adeguin floating over that way and reaching for his pocket, and he kind of calmed down. What you saw there was a calm Brendan Burke.
Yeah, I think they're actually asking for the red card, saying that it's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, but I think you've got to take into account he was well wide. If he's through the middle, then I think they have a case. But when you're wide like that, you've got covering centre-backs. I know we can't see in the picture who's covering. I mean, they have to ask, because that 18-yard box is not far away, and certainly the referee was left with a decision there, but in the end he goes yellow.
Luke Biasi into the book. Man who was the player of the match last week for Pittsburgh in that draw against Phoenix. Starting to break out of his shell a bit more these last few games, ever since Rob Vincent has taken over as the interim head coach for Bob Lilley. We'll dive into that a bit more in the near future, what he's brought to the team, what Junior Etu's brought, how Danny Griffin's role has changed. But for now, the focus defensively again for Pittsburgh. Anderson will have to do it again. He was not quite on the same page as Eligio Adeguin, who's coming over and reminding him that you needed to wait for the whistle.
I think Pittsburgh have a pretty good idea of one of the options, because they've just seen it, so I'm assuming they'll be able to deal with that should it come in again in the same shape.
Eric Dick ready. Anderson goes the different option this time, plays it short. Comes back for Samaria. He delivers, and that was much ado about nothing in the end. So Luke Biasi commits that foul. One of the biggest things we took away from our chat with Rob Vincent was giving the likes of Biasi, Etu, and Griffin more offensive freedom, whereas under Bob Lilley, one of the small tendencies was for those guys to be a little bit more defensive-oriented.
Yeah, Rob Vincent saying he hasn't made many changes. It's more a little tweak. That is one of the tweaks. And if it works, you'll say, well done, Rob Vincent. And if they're pushing up, they get caught in transition, you'll say, well, maybe he should have stuck with Bob Lilley the way he does it. It's very difficult as a coach. You're only ever correct when you win a game. So it's a brave decision, and I think the fans love it because they push forward a bit more. Pittsburgh, we've seen Danny Griffin's numbers go up a lot in the last few weeks in terms of his passes in the opposition third, because he's pushed up more often.
Bob Lilley still on administrative leave from the club. Brendan Burke actually alluded to it in our conversation with him as well. To your point, he's also noticed that uptick from Biasi, from Etu, from Griffin, and that more attacking mindset that an interim manager in Rob Vincent, who was a former striker, brings. He's seeing it through a striker's eyes. But Brendan Burke noted, to your point, with that comes more avenues through Pittsburgh defensively.
Under Bob Lilley, they have been one of the best defensive sides over all the years. So you wouldn't want to tweak too much. And Rob Vincent there in picture has done very little to change it, because he said, why change something that works so well?
Samaria off the throw, bending it toward that back post. Dick again there. Some concern here for the opponent, as he's the one, Eric Dick, waving the trainers on.
I think as he caught that, Eric Dick, maybe his elbow was out, which he's allowed to do because he's catching the ball, and that might have just caught the Hartford player. Have a look here as the ball goes up. Dick, who's a really big guy, gets up, and watch the arm there as he catches it. Maybe not the arm, maybe it's the back of his head that actually collides. Have a look here. His arms don't, yeah, it's the back of his head that collides. So that's painful for whoever's on the receiving end of that.
I believe it's Joe Farrell, who's up on the long throw in case it had gotten flicked on.
Just by the way, while we have a moment, let's just go back to that yellow card for Luke Biasi, because Brendan Burke on the bench there, very upset. The players themselves saying red card. He wasn't way out on the left, but he wasn't central. It's one of those decisions where referee Eligio Adeguin has got to decide, could the player with the ball, Mishi Ngalina, have been directly through on goals with a goal-scoring chance, or would the defenders have been able to cut him off? Given Mishi's pace, I think that's a touch-and-go decision. And should this match not go Brendan Burke's way in picture there, he might very well come back to that moment as a pivotal moment in this game.
Brendan Burke has come here and won before. 2018 in charge of then Bethlehem Steel. took a very interesting group. We were reminiscing on that roster this week. You had the likes of Brendan Aronson, who 4 years later would feature for the United States at the World Cup. A ton of players who have gone on to MLS. You even had Brandon Aubrey, who's now the best kicker in the NFL, who was a center back on that team for Bethlehem Steel. So it was fun looking back at some of the names. The biggest takeaway, James Chambers scored the game-tying free kick for Bethlehem Steel. Now the manager for Colorado Springs, the title-winning team last year. So he has come to this field, Brendan Burke, as a head coach and won a playoff game before. I'm trying to do the same with Hartford. And winning here at home in the playoffs hasn't been easy, or as easy as Pittsburgh would really like. We mentioned it earlier. They're trying to avenge a little bit of a defeat here from 2023.
Wow. Look at that egg under his eye.
And this was that defeat. They were the top seed. They were the Players' Shield winner. And they end up falling on a late goal to Detroit City, 1-0. Last year they were on the road for their lone playoff game. This year back home. Trying to erase this from their memory. Your concern in a moment like that for Joe Farrell is of course, a broken nose, a concussion. It seems as if he's passed the concussion check because he's up at the halfway line. There's no blood as far as we can see. It's just that shiner, as you mentioned, under the eye. So it didn't feel good, but thankfully so far it seems like it's nothing that'll cost him the rest of this game.
There's a big egg under his right eye from that clash. Fortunately, it's not his forehead because you hit the ball with your forehead. So because it's under the eye, it's only if somebody hits him there again that there's a potential for more trouble. But he's tough, Joe Farrell. He's really, really tough. So I don't think it's going to bother him too much. After the game, maybe he'll have a shiner to talk about.
The other thing you possibly fear is if it continues to swell and it impedes his vision at all. But other than that, to your point, it's a matter of just not getting hit there again. Easier said than done in a physical game. Biasi. There's Junior at 2. Ball hasn't found him much through the first quarter hour. He stretches up and down that left side. Here he goes on a run. Charles All cuts inside instead. Mertz delivering toward Williams. Curls just behind him.
That's that service again coming in from the width. We said Luke Biasi, Junior Etu. You also get it from Robbie Mertz. Just knocking those balls into dangerous areas, in particular for Augie Williams. Haven't got it right yet, but you always fancy that over the course of a match, 1 or 2 are going to end up on Augie's head.
9 goals, 1 assist this season for Augie Williams. First full season of his USL Championship career where he did not reach the double-digit goal threshold. He had missed it 1 year with LA Galaxy 2, but that was the year where he spent his time between MLS and USL. And only played 12 games, scored 6 times in those 12 games, so would have been well on his way to a double-digit goal-scoring season. Anderson takes a deflection. Topped the 80 goal threshold in the league. Augie Williams, just the 4th in league history to get there.
We ask that you enjoy yourself, but also do so in a responsible way that's considerate of those around you. Thank you so much for joining us.
He's such a clever player. He's got pace, he's got heading ability, he's got football IQ. He just needs the service, and as I say, over the course of 90 minutes, the chances are that something's going to come in from Robbie Mertz or Charles All or Danny Griffin. Bradley Sample, one of those is going to get a ball through Augie, and then the question is, what does he do with it from there? Chances are he gets it on target.
A free kick on the way now for Pittsburgh.
Makangila again, that's 2 free kicks he's given away in this match so far, in his own half. Just wondering from previous games whether the 2 losses for Hartford back-to-back now will have any impact on them after the most wonderful run, including beating Sac Republic in the Jägermeister Cup. But they were totally outplayed by Lou City last match. They lost at Tampa Bay and didn't perform. Sometimes it's just about rhythm and confidence, and there's two losses. Just wondering how it impacts them in this game today over 90 minutes, especially if they go one behind.
It was that Tampa Bay game that really perturbed Brendan Burke. Felt they had no business losing that game. It was one of their poorest showings they've had since the early season. He could live with that Louisville loss that you referenced for last week. There were lessons they learned in it. They went toe-to-toe, lost 1-0. Here's Etu, end line in front. Griffin was the closest. Siaha is able to gather. Wants to go quickly here. Finds the outlet finally. Edwards. Quietly a dozen goals this season for Kyle Edwards. The likes of Ngalina, at the time Momo Dieng before he was sold off by Hartford, and then since acquiring him, Haji Berry have all stolen the headlines, but Kyle Edwards, 12 goals, 2 assists this season.
8 of those came off the bench. Unbelievable that he's been so good at scoring as a substitute. And lucky they have him in their ranks, so they can just bring him in when they sell Dieng. They've still got him to bring in as a regular starter.
Haji Berry still working his way back from what was a long-term knee injury. Coming over from Egypt after he was sold off there from Colorado Springs. Now back into the USL fold, officially as of September 3rd for Hartford. They've been slowly ramping him up. Last couple of games, ends up with an assist in each. Starting to find more of a rhythm with his teammates. He can click now when it matters most in the playoffs. It'll be massive for Hartford. We will almost assuredly see him later on in this game. And Galena starting his run was pointing forward in space. Here's Edwards. And back by Makangila. Hairston. Dispe. Very fast first 10-15 minutes, slowing down now.
Yeah, it's been a good start by Hartford. Just looking at the first 20 minutes, which is just a small barometer on where the match is at. They've looked a little bit sharper. They've had probably the better attacking opportunities. There's that question, yellow card, red card or not for Luke Biasi, bringing down Mishi and Galina, professional foul. So if anything, you would think Hartford's had slightly the better of it, but that doesn't count in a knockout match like this. It's all going to be about the results at the end of the day.
Well, they thought they'd found the net 90 seconds in. Offside flag, though, came up on Carriaga. It was tight margin, but offside was the correct call. Williams. Mertz. Feeds it inside for Bradley Sample. Beto Idrach. Sample. Etu. Always looking to take on a player 1v1. Etu loses this battle to Dispe and commits the foul in the end. USL on CBS Sports Network kicks off the championship playoffs presented by Terminix with 2 quarterfinal showdowns tomorrow, November 2nd. Eastern Conference 2nd seed Charleston Battery taking on 7th seed Rhode Island. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. Western Conference 2nd seed Sacramento Republic battles 7th seed Orange County at 9 p.m. Eastern, both on the CBS Sports Network. We are about to be joined by other action. For now, still the only playoff game going on. Louisville City and Detroit City kick off in about 10 minutes time. And then about 30 minutes after that, North Carolina and Loudoun. 30 minutes after that, Tulsa and Colorado Springs. Should have 4 matches running concurrently. Well, if this game goes extra time, we could have 5 matches running concurrently when New Mexico and San Antonio would kick off at 9 Eastern. So hope you got multiple screens going. game has been sneakily physical. There's no bad blood between these teams. They met a while back. They met twice this season. Both wins for Pittsburgh. Although Brendan Burke feels you could throw out the first of those meetings way back at the beginning of the season when Hartford were still missing a lot of injured players. Because of that, had to play a different style on that night, which was a recipe for disaster.
Ref having a long chat with Misha Galina there because he feels he was pushed early on in that move. Comes back and wins the ball. Looked cleanly, but he was blown up. So you can see super frustrated. And of course, he was tripped earlier by Luke Biasi for the yellow card. So causing all sorts of problems down that left-hand side. And maybe you refer to those 2 losses when they played Pittsburgh. Maybe this is a chance for Misha Galina to just threaten that back line a bit more, push Pittsburgh back. You said the first match wasn't close, but the second one could have gone either way, Brendan Burke reckoned. So this is a chance for Mishi to have a real impact on this game.
Mertz at 2. Williams making his run, deflected. And Siaha gathers again. Slowly but surely, the possession edge starting to creep up in Pittsburgh's favor. Now up near 60-40. Neither of these sides are particularly noted for having large control of the ball, but somebody's got to end up with the lion's share of it on a night like this. Seems like Pittsburgh is settling into that role of the possessor while Hartford wants to just counter when they can, which is a strong suit given the horses they have up top.
It's one thing that Hartford are doing very well so far, getting all the numbers behind the ball except Kyle Edwards, who stays up. Look now, the entire 9 players that Kyle Edwards just crossing the halfway line now. So getting a lot of white shirts behind the ball and denying Pittsburgh space.
Roll for Pittsburgh. 20 minutes to go in this first half with Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us on ESPN Plus as we raise the curtain on the 2025 USL playoffs presented by Terminix. Edrach. Vactor at 2. Robbie Mertz has been on the ball a lot in the early stages here. Gets it back into play. Griffin. This is the pivot point here for Pittsburgh. Sean Suber on it now, leads the team in passes. Nice range of pass for the center back as he finds Etu here. Overlap to Mertz. Griffin wanted it back. Now delivering in between Griffin and Williams. A lot of it revolves around Sean Suber defensively in the attack, his range of pass, what he could do getting up on set pieces, and a good chat with Rob Vincent about what Sean Suber means to the group this week.
Well, on top of all that, he's number 1 in the USL for clearances. So, yes, he's a fantastic passer of the ball. Scored a couple of goals a couple of games ago, but also tough as a defender, winning all those 50-50s.
And he's been tasked with being the leader this year as well, playing in between Edrach and Vactor. Edrach and Vactor both in their first professional seasons out of the college ranks. Vactor coming from UConn, Edrach from Akron. At 2. Starting to advance a bit up the field now, Hartford in their press, but Pittsburgh break it down through Etu. Anderson cuts it out. Top of the broadcast, we spotlighted Haji Barry and Mishi and Galina as players that Brendan Burke has had elsewhere and knows them well, playoff experience with them with the switchbacks. So too, Sebastian Anderson, 2019 through 2022. He went on loan each year from Colorado Rapids to the Switchbacks under Brendan Burke, part of that 2022 team that made the conference final. So there's a few players out there that he has playoff experience with.
Just thinking, conversely, Pittsburgh have a couple of players who were there in that defeat 2 years ago. I'm guessing Robbie Mertz would have been there, Danny Griffin, Not sure if any others would have been, but just those two alone would have said to that locker room, hey, it was a horrible feeling, losing at home in the playoffs, so don't want to go through that again.
Another free kick here in a dangerous wide area. Anthony Siaha yet to be tested. One shot for Pittsburgh. It was not on target. Terrific season he had for Hartford, coming over from Monterey Bay previously. Robbie Mertz, good service, the header, saved by Siaha. Griffin was also lurking back post. Siaha parries it wide, out for a corner when called upon, answering the call.
It's a lovely ball in as well from Robbie Mertz, headed down, goalkeeper does well to go across, and also just push it away from Danny Griffin, because Danny's just waiting for it 2 yards out. You've got to push it away with a little bit of effort there, and Anthony Siaha does that brilliantly.
Another Cohen Markets corner kick for Pittsburgh. Hartford starting to feel the pressure. Mertz drops it in. Griffin will let it run by out of play.
That was a good header at the far post. I think it was from Luke Biasi. Either way, the balls we spoke about, set pieces for both sides being crucial. That one so nearly the opening goal of this match.
Half an hour gone, scoreless. That was your first shot on target for Pittsburgh. Their possession edge continues to creep up at 66% now. Griffin darting through. Augie Williams just gives away so he can feed it wide.
You can see Robbie Mertz has come to the right-hand side last few minutes, trying his luck down this side. Just a bit of variety, test out the different fullbacks, see what joy you can get. Now he's back on the left side.
He's that versatile player for Pittsburgh where they can just plug him in anywhere and they know he'll create. Nice turn here from Biasi. Springs Augie Williams, run coming back post, fed that way, deflected toward the penalty spot. And Griffin blasts it high, goal kick. This is very positive from Pittsburgh.
It certainly is, asking a lot of questions of this Hartford defense. Augie Williams out wide, prefer him in the middle of the box, but sometimes you have to go wide. Danny Griffin going through the middle. It's getting very congested. A lot of numbers in that Hartford defensive third of the pitch.
Get ready for Oktoberfest flavors as we push for the playoffs. At the train, sink your teeth into
You mentioned it, Gary. Danny Griffin, part of that team 2 years ago. We asked Rob Vincent how much of that game comes into the orbit of conversation. He said, to be honest, not much. That game doesn't have any impact on this. So many new faces on the team overall. But he did say he very much expected the likes of Danny Griffin and Robbie Mertz in the huddle in the locker room or on the field pregame to reference that as one last bit of a motivating factor to the group, knowing that it's still on those players' hearts and minds what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, just a warning to the players, if they don't give 110% and they lose at home, it's going to hurt so much. So you get everything you can out the players. If you then lose, well, that's life. It's knockout soccer, but you want to leave everything on the pitch, especially when you're at home in front of this wonderful crowd.
Here at Highmark, they've won 7 of 9 matches against Hartford, 7-1-1 record against Hartford Athletic. Haven't called Eric Dick's name in a while. He had a busy first 5 minutes, but it's really been quiet since then. He'll keep it that way if he can.
Just looking at the goalkeepers, I think two excellent goalkeepers here. Eric Dick, as we mentioned, 11 clean sheets, second year running. He's had double-digit clean sheets. He's been a wonderful keeper, keeper of the year last year. And Anthony Siaha, what a good signing he has been for Hartford Athletic, because he too is, what, 6'5", dominant, and really has had a fantastic season, making some crucial saves.
Got a long way to go before we start having that conversation, Gary, but should this go to a shootout, you've got two terrific shot stoppers on either end. There really isn't an edge to either side if we get there.
I think that's a very, very fair comment. I think it was Brendan Burke, was he saying that they had a penalty shootout earlier in the year?
That was the Pittsburgh side against Portland in Jägermeister Cup. So Rob Vincent did feel some confidence knowing they've had that experience in a hostile environment. But that's something else, as you mentioned, between Open Cup and now Jägermeister Cup, a lot of these teams do have penalty experience throughout the year that otherwise wouldn't be there should we go that route. So a long way to go before we entertain that conversation more seriously. Biasi. And on the same page. Get ready for all the exciting postseason action as the USL playoffs presented by Terminix kick off here in November. Top teams battle it out for the ultimate prize. Go to USL Championship.com for all the latest playoff information. Hobbled at the end of that. Luke Biasi helped to his feet by Samani, or he tried to at least, but then decided to sit down for a moment. Looks like he's going to take the boot off.
Now that he's off the pitch, the game can restart. Just wonder whether it was worth keeping a foot or two on the pitch just to force the decision to the referee to slow the game down.
To your point, I suppose he doesn't have to, but the referee is keeping this stopped for the time being.
But to be fair, it's not. He's doing the right thing in terms of fairness, because it was Biasi who was injured. Why should Pittsburgh suffer the loss of Biasi when he was kicked by Hartford? So yeah, in that sense, I agree with it. It's the right thing to do.
Long throw from Anderson, launches it toward the penalty spot. Comes out for Hairston. Kyle Edwards. The action has begun in Louisville. Scoreless through 7 minutes against Detroit City. We'll have a live look in at halftime of that game. Edrach. All. Sample works it back. Patient Pittsburgh. Not forcing anything. It doesn't behoove them to force anything, because that's when you play into Hartford's hands. The second you try to force something into this tight Hartford shape is the second they can turn around and run through you with Kyle Edwards, with Mishi Galina, and use that speed and athleticism to their advantage. How they've beaten teams, in some cases badly, in this hot run they've had until these last two losses. There have been 3-0s, 4-0s, some gaudy score lines that Hartford has enjoyed.
I think if you give Mishi and Galina space to run into, you're asking for trouble. They've dealt with him fairly well in this first half, Pittsburgh, but he remains a constant threat in transition.
Are you at all surprised that we're nearing on 70-30 in the possession for Pittsburgh? Again, neither of these teams necessarily noted for any vaunted possession metrics, so somebody has to have it. Are you surprised it's been this one-sided?
Not that surprised. I think Hartford prefer to play on the counter as they're doing now. They want to play into open space, so they almost, to some sense, don't mind the Riverhounds having a lot of ball, as long as it's not in their final third. If it's in that just over the halfway line area, I think they're more than happy for Pittsburgh to have the ball there.
Hairston switching. Dangerous one there. It was read well and chased by Robbie Mertz. Dispe. Perfectly weighted ball. Gets in behind the Charles Hall. Augie Williams making his run. So too is Robbie Mertz. Augie Williams upset that the ball didn't come his way immediately. Now Edwards is similarly frustrated on the other side that it wasn't played into him. Two strikers mentality as they want the ball. Ingalina gets it now, but he is offside. He's still upset about it. Kyle Edwards slapping his knees there in the background. He was gesturing into space.
I think Ingalina there just with his hand signal saying I needed it quicker. I made the run. You got to, oh, I tell you what, it's close, isn't it? But he wanted that ball a split second earlier as he starts the run. But good idea from Emmanuel Samadia. And again, that's that thread. It's that pace of Ingalina, then it's Kyle Edwards getting in the box to be on the receiving end of something. That's that combination that threatens Pittsburgh defense.
Vactor rises to meet it at 2. Pinballs around a bit. Dispe just gives it right back. Danny Griffin. Ricochets out to Mertz. He lets it run by. Throw for Pittsburgh. The longer this game goes at 0-0, the more the hearts will be in the throats of these fans. Because 2 years ago, again, it was Detroit City playing similar to the way Hartford is right now. Protective, nothing too dangerous, tight defensively, looking to counter. And then all of a sudden, the closing minutes of that game, just as we were really starting to talk about extra time and start looking ahead, what subs the managers might make in the changeover before extra time. And then boom, that's when Dominic Gasso scores and Detroit City wins at 1-0 in the dying moments. Longer it goes 0-0, the more visions of that game will start creeping through the fans' minds.
Yeah, I think it's pressure for both sides. I mean, if you're Hartford, you'll be happy, obviously, with 0-0, but you'll also be worried that Pittsburgh score late if this 0-0 scoreline continues. So it's again, it's cup football or knockout football as such. It's psychologically very nervy. You don't want to be the one that makes the error. You don't want to fall behind because the pressure ramps up. It's a very, very difficult set of pressures compared to a league game.
Augie Williams is again lurking. Etu's ball blasted over everything. Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. From the Academy to the big leagues, Select is there every step of the way. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. Mertz turns into space, blocked by Dispe. Would have loved to see where that would have ended up. Seemed as if he struck it well. Bear in mind, it is a straight bracket here in the playoffs in USL Championship. There's no reseeding, so the winner of this matchup gets the winner of the Louisville City-Detroit City matchup next week, so that's what's at stake. If Detroit City were to upset Lou City tonight, whoever wins this game would host. If Lou City wins, Lou City hosts.
Oh.
Yellow for Makangila. You mentioned earlier, Gary, he'd already been in the radar of the referee for a couple of challenges. That might have just been one too many.
That's been his job there to try and shut down Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I've got a feeling that they might pull him off second half. He's leading with his arm there because they did play 3 up front. Now they've got 2 up front and they brought him in as an option. I just wonder if second half they might pull him off and bring the likes of Junior Moreira back on and have 3 up front. Time will tell. It's been a good a decent first half for Pittsburgh. Interesting, Rob Vincent. So I think it's his 4th match in charge, 2 wins and a draw. Drawing here in this match, so he's never sort of known the tough side of it, being down as yet. I think Rob must be very happy with the impact he's had on this Pittsburgh Riverhounds side so far since he's filled in for Bob Lilly.
Sent out a play. Luke Biasi. Oh, it made the river. I couldn't tell. It's dark out, and the net is obviously blending in with the black of the river.
Isn't there a railway line there first?
Yes, but it cleared it.
Cleared that as well. Well, that was a bad clearance then, wasn't it?
And it's 9 balls that have been lost to the river this year. So it's a good thing that deal is there with Select because they go through them. Tell you what, though, for as many games as there are here and as much soccer is played here, only 9 times it feels light. I suppose it takes quite a clearance or a mishit to get out there, but it still feels light. We'll be 3 minutes added here in this first half. Most of that for when Joe Farrell went down early in the first half. Eric Dick really has had nothing to do since the opening 2 minutes of this game.
He had 2 shots in 2 minutes. The second save that he made ended up with that offside goal, but he was tested nice and early on. Balls like that for Eric Dick, and on the other side, Anthony Siaha. They're both 6'4", 6'5". They're going to come all day and catch those. You can't put those sort of balls in the box to goalkeepers of that stature. So the quality has to be a little bit better. Just wondering what the coaches are going to say at halftime. I'm guessing both of them are going to say, so far so good, let's take it up another level. I think the substitutions in the second half will dictate how positive either side is going to be. But so far, as we sort of thought it would be, it's tight, it's close, there's not much given away by either side.
You always have that interesting song and dance for managers in the second half as well, because normally you're looking at the 60-minute mark for those substitutions, but tonight if you bring somebody in at the 60-minute mark, they could be playing an hour, not necessarily just 30 minutes. So do you now look to make those subs at the 80-minute mark, and what does that do to the middle third of the second half? It's all those extra little added bits of strategy in this chess match that you don't have to deal with in the regular season, but certainly enter the mind now tonight. Settled by Anderson. Hopeful, but wide. Into this final minute of stoppage time now in this first half. And Galena. It's feeling like both these teams are pretty content to get into the locker room now at this point.
Yeah, because it would have been your first objective is don't concede, so they'll both feel they've achieved the first objective. I'm guessing even towards the end of normal time, because there's extra time as a possibility, they won't be taking risks. But it just takes one little moment, just one moment of magic from either side, or an error, and suddenly this knockout match will come to life.
Is there one last effort here, or will it just be passed around the back as the whistle goes? Set long by Suber. It's out for a throw. They like that long throw, Pittsburgh, but will they get a chance to take it? No, they will not. The first half ends scoreless here between Pittsburgh and Hartford.
Yeah, very, very tight game. First 10 minutes, impressed with Hartford. They had a couple of little half chances, and slowly the Riverhounds have begun to dominate possession and space and been slightly the more creative. So both coaches will take positives from the first half, and both coaches will want something different to happen in terms in front of goal second half.
I wonder what Hairston is upset about there with the fourth official. Certainly can't be still that yellow red card decision from so early. It might be.
Yeah.
I'm with you, though. I never really saw anything more than just a yellow there. It was a quick chat there from Hairston. It was a very one-sided chat as he walks off now toward the locker room. So scoreless at the break between Pittsburgh and Hartford. One of these two teams will carry on to next week against either Louisville City or Detroit City. We'll have a live look into that game here coming up at the 84 Lumber halftime show. Scoreless between Pittsburgh and Hartford.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams? To build them from scratch, from the heart. For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win the championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
Scoreless through 45 minutes between Pittsburgh and Hartford. Halftime score brought to you by 84 Lumber. Let's take a look around USL Championship with some news and notes, shall we? As we're here in the first week of the play. do that. They've had days where they really struggled to do that. So we'll keep an eye on Louisville City and Detroit City as the rest of the evening goes along. Tomorrow on CBS Sports Network, you've got Charleston, Rhode Island at 2 p.m. Eastern, Sacramento, Orange County at 9 p.m. Eastern, both of the 2 versus 7 matchups. These are another 2 fantastic matchups here, Gary.
Oh, aren't they just? Charleston back here at home have been great, but Rhode Island, didn't they beat them there last year
They
in
did.
the playoffs?
Conference
They did.
final.
Yeah. So Rhode Island, they're one of those sides. They've got so many good players. If they pull it together, they can be fantastic. I guess you could say the same about Orange County. They've got some real quality there under Danny Stone. You would fancy Sacramento Republic at home, but Orange County always capable of a good result.
Your biggest takeaway from this whole segment should be that any team can win any game here this weekend. That is life in the USL Championship playoffs. Any team can win this one still. Scoreless between Pittsburgh and Hartford. More to come from Highmark Stadium.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win the championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
Top corner, it's Kelly with the breakthrough for the Charleston Battery. There's Cross coming in, the header's down and down!
Whoa, termites can eat a pound of wood a day. 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 What's wrong, Daddy? Daddy? You okay?
Keep termites out of your home and your head with our premium guarantee that covers up to $250,000 in new termite damage. Before panic shows up, Terminix it.
Prinks tires in the USL help soccer journeys everywhere to drive harder. From city playgrounds to suburban sidelines. From early mornings to late nights. From fun with friends to winner takes all. From the biggest fan to the biggest heart. And at every turn, Prinks tires will be there for the long haul.
Booking a spot in the playoffs for the first time.
Fans may be experiencing a little nervous energy, but some liquid can change that. Pittsburgh 0, Hartford 0 through 45 minutes here. Let's get to know a little bit more about Ben Martino as Pittsburgh takes you behind the black and yellow.
I'm Ben Martino and play for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I did only the goalkeeper academy for a year in 2014, and then I officially joined the actual academy in 2015. At that age, you know, it was more about just falling in love with soccer. And a couple years of that transitioned into, you know, I was starting to become a lot better goalkeeper.
Benny was very consistent. Things that he needed to improve on, he would stay, do the extra work, but he was always mentally and physically prepared for anything that was kind of thrown in his direction.
You know, he came through our system, and that's what we want to continue to have. It just shows that we're doing the right things in our academy if all of a sudden now we have these kids training with the first team and then eventually signing with the first team. It just means that we're putting the work in at the lower levels. It gives the younger goalkeepers that are in our academy something to go, okay, they are looking in our academy. It's not like they're always going outside of the academy.
Maybe halfway, you know, towards the end of my time at the academy, I was being recruited by a lot of schools, and obviously that was a really big thing that RDA helped me with, was, you know, facilitating those connections with those schools. And they help you, you know, contact schools, write emails to schools, you know, help you get into ID camps. You know, they help me be very proactive with the whole college process, especially like even from the start of my freshman year.
You know, there's no magic formula for the pros. They do the same thing that the academy goalkeepers do. They just do it at a higher tempo and a more consistent tempo. So, you know, Benny is great with taking Ryan under his wing, putting his arm around him, talking to him about little things, you know, whether it's in the middle of a drill or whether it's just when they're having water, right? So it's one thing when I'm talking to Ryan or Dylan, but it's a whole nother thing also when the pros are taking that time. You know, makes Ryan feel even more invested by it, you know, into the system. And so if we can all just help each other out, then, you know, it's going to make for a great environment from top to bottom in the whole goalkeeping department.
If you're in the right environment and you're willing to give it your all and give it your best, day in and day out, your dreams and your goals, anything is possible. And Benny, you know, he sets that. He proves that and validates that anything is possible as long as you're willing to put that work in.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And, you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not in football. We want to achieve. We're not going after that.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams, to build them from scratch, from the heart? For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
Ready to get things going here in this second half. We'll see a sub on the Hartford side. There you see Junior Moneta. More on that in a moment. This is really a first half where Pittsburgh were on the front foot. Smoke billowing up from the Steel Army as we are ready to begin half number 2. Pittsburgh right to left in the black and yellow. Hartford left to right in the white with Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us here on ESPN+. Eastern Conference quarterfinal, the opening game of the postseason here at Highmark Stadium. It did not produce the opening goal of the playoffs. The opening goal of the playoffs belongs to Detroit City, who have taken a 1-0 lead on Louisville City in the 35th minute.
Well, there's a surprise. Did not expect that.
I mentioned that a moment ago. Junior Moreira came on for Beverly Macangila, so they get the yellow card off the field immediately to Hartford Athletic.
And that was the only outfield change from the last match. They went with the extra player in midfield, which worked well in the first half. He got himself a yellow card because of consistent fouling, but at least he stopped Pittsburgh, did Beverly Macangila. Now, get the sense that Brendan Burke's saying, hey, let's push forward a bit more. And with Michi Ngalina on one side and Junior Moreira possibly pushing up on the other, there could be a bit more attack-minded.
Robbie Mertz drops it for Junior at 2. Looking for a quick start to the second half. Remember, whoever wins this game gets the winner of that Lou City-Detroit City game. There's still a long way to go in that game, and we know the season Louisville City has had, so we'll see if Detroit City can hang on for the better part of an hour. At 2, end line, in front, deflected save by Siahat. That came off of one of his own defenders, but he was alert to it.
Junior Etu looking very sharp on that left-hand side, got a ball into a dangerous area. As you say, just came off a defender. So in the end, it just loops up for Siaha together.
Augie Williams starting his run, calling for it. Fed instead to Etu. Junior Etu looking for Williams, was caught flat-footed. Joe Farrell gets in the way of it.
Well, it's a good start to the second half. Suddenly things happening. It all got a bit staid, a bit like a chess match towards the end of the first half. But Pittsburgh have come out absolutely firing. And I'm glad they have, because the expected goals was 0.29 for Pittsburgh, 0.17 for Hartford. So really not much going forward in the first half. Nice little build on that left-hand side. Junior Etu just whips it in. And not sure if it came off Danny Griffin or one of the defenders. Either way, it just pops up. There's no pace on the ball. Easy gather. Yeah, I think it's the defender, the 94, Marlon Hairston. Just knocks it up in the air for Anthony Siaha together.
Well, neither of these sides can at all bank on Detroit City holding on over Louisville City. And it's not something they'll be privy to at the moment, and that game will end after this game ends. But without them knowing it, these two teams right now could be playing to host a game again next week, where we have a fixed bracket. The winner of this game gets the winner of Lou City, Detroit City. Detroit City, the 8 seed. These two teams seeded 4 and 5, respectively, Pittsburgh then Hartford. So whoever wins this game would host next week if Detroit City hosts it, or rather, if Detroit City holds on against Lou City.
And that's great for all the fans to know, but on that pitch, there's only one thought in your mind. You've got to get through.
Right.
Because all that sounds great, and then you get knocked out. You know, you can be 0-0 going into the 90th minute, and the opposition score, and that's it. You're going home. So it's all about just getting through, and then you deal with the next challenge as it comes along. Right now, very difficult to sort of call between the two teams. One thing that did concern me a little bit for Hartford, stats from the first half: 6 touches in the opposition box for Pittsburgh, just 1 for Hartford Athletic. And they were a little bit on the back foot. They struggled to get forward. Yes, dangerous in transition with Michi Ngalina's pace, but didn't get enough ball into the box to really threaten Pittsburgh too much, possibly with the exception of the first 5 or 6 minutes.
Go quickly here, Pittsburgh. Blocked by Griffin. Keeps it in the attacking third. Luke Biasi chips it up. Augie Williams. Lovely sample for Robbie Mertz. Good movement this at 2 to the end line. Sample at 2. Can he get a service in on his preferred left foot? Just ahead of Robbie Mertz. Biasi. Again, Biasi looking for Griffin. More probing to begin this second half, Pittsburgh. Less possession around midfield and their back end, more in the attacking third.
Which is interesting because the change made by Brendan Burke to bring on Junior Moreira was to attack more from a Hartford point of view. But since the kickoff for the second half has been all Pittsburgh, obviously that could still change. Still plenty of time left in the second half, but a lot of defensive work right now for Hartford to do.
As you look at some of the stats from the opening 50 minutes, possession still very much in Pittsburgh's favor. Shots are even, shots on target favor Hartford, but again, a bit of a misnomer there. Those two came in the first 2 minutes of the game. Haven't had anything since. Still just that one touch in the 18-yard box for Hartford, as you noted, Gary.
I mean, there are a couple of subs that both teams can bring on. Already they've made the one change, Hartford, with the Hadji Barry on the bench you mentioned. Jack Panayotu can bring him on for a little bit of explosiveness in midfield. For Pittsburgh Riverhounds, expect to see Jackson Walty. He came on a couple of goals, a couple of games ago against Monterey Bay, scored one and made one. So what an impact he was as a sub there. And then for me, the X factor, Bertrand Jacqueson. What a clever player, and he can turn a match round as well. So there's players who can come off the bench, and we will see players off the bench, I guess, in about 10 minutes onwards, that might really change the flow of this match.
Still 1-0 Detroit City now, also 1-0 North Carolina over Loudoun. North Carolina scores 7 minutes in, hosting Loudoun. That's a rematch from last week. Those two teams met. Edwards for Michian Galina going for goal. Eric Dick had it covered. Watched it wide of the post. Soccer season is here, and SeatGeek is the official ticketing partner of the USL. Get all your USL tickets and more from the #1 ticketing site, SeatGeek, your ticket to great seats.
I mentioned Loudoun, but that was the team that Brendan Burke said their season turned around with a 3-0 home victory on June 20th. And the run they went on after that was phenomenal. Beat teams like New Mexico 4-0 the following month. They got consistency, 6 straight wins on the road. I mean, it was just a run second to none. Probably in that period even better than Lou City, match for match. Just had a poor start to the season and a poor last couple of games. But other than that, it's been just the most magnificent turnaround by Hartford Athletic.
And I'm glad what you point out there, the teams they did it against. It's not like they were doing this against teams that were below the playoff line or teams that, now looking back, never really had any shot at making the playoffs. If you would have said, oh, they beat Miami, oh, they beat Tampa Bay, or they beat Monterey Bay, different story. They beat Loudoun, they beat New Mexico, they tied Louisville, they tied Detroit City, they tied Indy. They were going up against the best teams and pulling results. That's when Brendan Burke started to realize, yeah, this is a playoff team. There was a back-to-back between the Jägermeister Cup and the regular season where they twice visited Rhode Island and took it to their rival, where he was like, yeah, this team is absolutely a playoff team. They can accomplish something special. The question is, how high is that ceiling? What could they achieve? They already win that first trophy in the Jägermeister Cup and now playing for more.
Well, because of that run, Brendan Burke got Coach of the Month for August. 5 wins and 2 draws. Well deserved.
Could be in the running for Coach of the Year as well. Given away. Augie Williams muscled off the ball cleanly by Dispe. Just not linking up though, Hartford, once they do win it back. Some more frustrated gyrations from Kyle Edwards as he gestured back toward his teammates, just not finding him up top, not giving him any opportunity.
It's a difficult pitch to play on as well. I think a lot of teams have come to Highmark, and yeah, the fans are very good and very pro Riverhounds, of course, but it's a small field. They press really well, Pittsburgh. They have a high intensity, and it's a turf pitch. So it's a lot of getting used to when you come here and play. Not that easy to play against Pittsburgh at Highmark Stadium. And we're seeing a very good Hartford side sort of struggle to get on the front foot here.
Carriaga, then Galina, cut off by Biasi. Robbie Mertz. All the way across for Biasi. Still Luke Biasi, Robbie Mertz. Biasi looked back at the referee, hoping for a foul. Now Mertz goes down, and it ends up called against Robbie Mertz as he went on top of the ball.
Just wondering why it was called a... Ooh, goalkeeper, stay out of it. You don't need to get involved. I'm just wondering why that happened, because Robbie Mertz had the ball. Now, that's all started by Anthony Siaha, who's got to be very careful here, because the referee is going to take action, I would think. But Robbie Mertz didn't use his hands, and he was holding onto the ball with his legs. So I'm not quite sure why that's a foul. But Anthony Siaha's response is totally unnecessary.
You see the sheer size of Anthony Siaha at a moment like this. It's really tough to contextualize when he's by himself in goal all game. He just gave Robbie Mertz a little pat on the head. It was like you standing next to me. And there he is, as you mentioned, just falls on top of it.
Well, how was that a foul? I mean, you're using your body.
And that's what Robbie Mertz is asking.
Yeah, but then look at Siaha. You just don't see, got cut off too early there. Don't see Siaha come running out of his box to get involved. I think it could turn spicy. We get into that last third of the match, or normal time, where things, as Rob Vincent saying a few words, things start to get spicier. Everybody knows that this is when one goal could decide the match, and there's no question tempers are going to start flaring.
For Hartford, number 77, Anthony Siaha.
It was Anthony Siaha and Robbie Mertz who picked up the yellows out of that whole exchange.
I'm not quite sure why Robbie Mertz should get it. Anthony Siaha, I get 100%.
I think to your point, Robbie Mertz has to feel really awkward coming out of that. Why was it called against him, whistled against him in the first place? And why did he get singled out for the yellow card on the Pittsburgh side? By the way, it did go to halftime between Louisville City and Detroit City, with the visiting Detroit City leading 1-0.
Well, the debates, the arguments, they're all continuing on the sideline, on the pitch. Robbie Mertz is still discussing, or was discussing it. But this is what it's going to, this is now going to turn into more and more of a tense match now, because I think it's not boiling over isn't the right word, but it's really getting to the point where players have to manage their emotions, and every once in a while a player doesn't, and that's when players can either get yellow carded or even worse.
Awaiting word on who will be coming off, but Jonathan Jimenez will be coming on now momentarily for Hartford. It's going to be Kyle Edwards, we're told, coming off for Jimenez. So it'll be their second substitution, Hartford, but their first substitution window, having brought on Morera at halftime. And remember, should we get there, the teams will get an extra substitution and window in extra time. Ticking toward the hour mark. Nothing yet separating Pittsburgh and Hartford. Ogie Williams. Good defensive step by Dizpe. 31-year-old from Cuba. He's bounced around this league. Veteran. Has seen time with Indy, with Tulsa, with RGV, with Switchbacks, with Portland Timbers too, going further back to 2018 and 2019. Here comes that change now. Edwards is unhappy. He's been frustrated all night. There's been moments where he felt he should have gotten the ball and didn't, and now unhappy to see his night end as soon as it's ending.
It is frustrating. As a striker, you want to be the hero. You want to be the one that scores the winning goal that gets you through to the next round, and that's obviously over now for Kyle Edwards. And it's a little bit of a judgment on the fact that you haven't impacted the game. And it's the coach's job, bring on fresh legs, fresh minds, something different that might break down this very dogged Pittsburgh defense. Third best defense in the East this season. They really have given so little away, just 28 goals conceded in 30 matches. I mean, wow, less than a goal a match, which has been Bob Lilly's stamp throughout his time at Pittsburgh Riverhounds. In all the matches he's been there over the last, what, 6 seasons, is it? It's always been less than a goal a game they've conceded. Phenomenal record in defense.
And just at the tail end of that, as we were showing you Jimenez come onto the field, when we looked down, we saw Kyle Edwards actually kick a chair over. He is unhappy. He wasn't disrespectful to his coaches, embraced his coaches as he came off. It wasn't any frustration with them. It just seems more the moment, the night, the situation getting to him. Pittsburgh will counter with a sub of their own. Perrin Barnes will be coming on for Luke Biasi. Like-for-like switch of the wingbacks. Gets a yellow card off the field as well in Luke Biasi.
I think there'll be more. I expect to see Jackson Walty at some stage because he has made an impact before, and Burton Jarkerson as well. But there might be that till later, where they're keeping, obviously, extra time in mind.
Biasi was the player of the match last week in that draw against Phoenix. They didn't quite have the same impact or opportunity here tonight. A lot of the focus has been on the wingbacks ever since Rob Vincent has taken over as the interim manager for Pittsburgh. A nuance where he wants them both to go forward at the same time, where it used to be a principle of Bob Lilly, where if one goes, one stays. Long throw comes in, foul called against Hartford. We talked a little bit about it in the first half, but that was really the big tactical switch. Under Bob Lilly, if one wingback would go, one would stay defensively, and whoever it was in the midfield, in most cases Bradley Sample, would join the attack. Charles All would then pop out to the other wing. Now, under Rob Vincent, if one wingback goes, he encourages the other to go as well and asks for Bradley Sample or whoever that midfielder is to drop back. This also has a domino effect of keeping Charles All in the number 10 position in the middle where he's more comfortable. So slight little tweak, nothing crazy, nothing that's going to change the shape or the overall outlook of Pittsburgh, but little nuances and trends within. Mertz laid off to Griffin. Charles All turning. All dribbling around a down Hartford player. That two works his way out of trouble, brought down. Free kick for Pittsburgh.
You can see the pushing and the shoving, and it's really beginning to take off now. Here we go. Referee's going to have his hands full. Elio Adeguin, you sense it's been boiling up, and now the verbals are flying back and forth, and every tackle has a player rolling over or somebody pointing fingers. So I think we're in for a treat here at the end. It's going to get really chippy. See, that shove is unnecessary from Augie Williams, but you also mustn't respond to it if you're the opposition. And the crowd are having their say from the touchline as well.
It's what you want, though, in the playoffs. You want the intensity. You want to see this passion. You don't want lines to be crossed, but this is what you live for as a player once it gets down to these moments. For one of these teams, they won't be taking the field again until next March. The other will take the field possibly at home next week against Detroit City, if current results hold. Etu, corner, brought to you by Cohen Markets.
Again, we go back to the importance of set pieces. When you can't break down a team in normal play, sometimes just getting a near post flick on, and then once you do get a near post flick on, nobody knows where the ball's going, so then there's the possibility of getting ahead. Look at the fans, they're really getting pumped up now.
Swung in, dealt with. Enter the Prince Tires Family Game Day Kit Sweepstakes for a chance to win a prize pack worth up to $4,000. Scan the QR code on the screen to enter today. If you're Pittsburgh, having a back-to-back like that with a free kick and a corner kick, see neither amount to anything with time slipping. Those are the moments that you remember all of a sudden if it goes the other way tonight. Opportunities squandered. Hardly tested. Anthony Siaha made that one terrific save in the first half. That's been it.
Oh, that's another ball in the river.
So we did receive word that we said 9 earlier. It was actually 12, the 12th one. Now we're up to 15. For having 11 the whole season, we have 4 tonight, Gary. What is going on?
Someone should park their boat there in the water and just collect the balls. Okay, long throw, another set piece. Try and get a near post flick on. All these things can result in a good opportunity.
There's the long throw. They don't get the flick on. Siaha launches it long again. Will Hartford start taking more of this approach? Being direct, sending it long, trying to see if Mishi and Galina can make something special of it.
After tonight's match, players will be signing autographs on the pitch.
He just needs one chance in Galina with his pace. Just one through ball, one opportunity to get behind that back line. And as the game goes on and defenders start to tie, you just wonder whether he will get that chance. Because if he does, then he's got, with his pace, you can't catch him.
We talked about it earlier, some of the names on that 2018 Bethlehem Steel team that Brendan Burke coached, came here and won a playoff game with. Mishi Galina was 18 years old on that team, featured that night.
Wow, he has been around a long time then, hasn't he?
Still just 25 years of age, but he's been around the block now. Sample at 2. Danny Griffin opens up for Perrin Barnes. Threaded through, flag stays down, chance here, blocked. Charles All was through.
Wow. That is a good chance for Charles All, and he's been scoring a couple of goals here and there. Been very quiet this match. You've hardly mentioned his name at all. But this was the moment he'd have been waiting for. Robbie Mertz, I think it was, in the end. Expect him to do better from there. The keeper's coming up, but can you chip the keeper? That's a really, really good chance. And we thought maybe as defenses tired, there might be opening up in defenses. That was a great one for Pittsburgh Riverhounds there.
Just over 20 minutes remaining. See if more and more of those start to pop up. All it takes is one. Hartford still looking for what would be their first ever playoff win. It's just their second ever playoff trip. They made it back in the COVID year in 2020 when the league was sectioned off into groups. It's interesting hearing folks around the club talk about that year and that playoff appearance and how it compares to this year. It's not technically their first playoff appearance here in 2025. Look out here, Eric Dick's made a mess of this. And Galina retrieves it. Gets back in goal, Eric Dick. Samaria with the outside of the boot. Eric Dick comes away with it. But that year, they almost sort of forget it. That was the year where everybody was grouped off differently, and the luck of the draw based on the geography in the COVID year, Hartford was grouped in with the likes of all the MLS 2 sides. So it was almost sort of an empty playoff appearance. They got there, they lost their only playoff game, and that was it. So it was a forgettable year. It's not one that they really ever pounded their chest about. For all intents and purposes, they've been treating this year as if it was their first ever playoff appearance, their first true one. And they are still looking for that first playoff victory. Could that come in the next 20 minutes against the grain, against the run of play?
And against a team who qualified now for the 8th time in a row, which only Lou City's done better than that. So Pittsburgh Riverhounds really have had a fantastic consistency. The only problem is when they've made the playoffs, they haven't often gone much further. I'm sure that's something that Rob Vincent would like to change here tonight.
20 minutes to play. Either a trip to Louisville or hosting Detroit City next week. That game is about to come out of halftime. Devin Amu-Mensah scored the goal for Detroit City in the 34th minute. The center back getting forward and striking. Lou City will have to come from behind in the second half. Set the league record for points per game in a regular season. Lost only once in the regular season. Could all come crumbling down.
It's a little bit scrappy at the moment, isn't it? And I think with 20 minutes to go, normal time, players start to worry that they don't want to make the mistake that settles this game, because you have a sense as a player that one goal probably now might be enough, so you don't want to be the one who messes it up. And so players get a little bit more careful as the fans still trying to G up the Riverhounds.
It's their blackout night tonight. Deflects here from Mertz. So much traffic in the box right now. At a given time, whenever Pittsburgh enters the attacking third, you could pretty much count up 8, maybe 9 white jerseys that are in the orbit of the 18. Nowhere to go.
They've done a good job, Hartford, of getting numbers behind the ball, to your point. They really have. Problem is, it's taken away from their attacking ability. Just haven't done much going forward, and they've got so much talent, but it's been such a focus on defense, which again is understandable. It's a knockout match. You know, if you keep a clean sheet, your chances are you're going through to the next round. So that's always the priority for both coaches.
A lot of contact there along the sideline. After that last scuffle between Augie Williams and Sebastian Anderson, tempers had calmed down. Player down now for Hartford. Augie Williams coming over to check on Arturo Dispe. Asking for the trainer to come out. Those two have had some good battles tonight already. Pittsburgh have used just the one sub. Perrin Barnes came on for Luke Biasi. Hartford have used 2. Junior Morera for Beverly Makangila. Jonathan Jimenez for Kyle Edwards. Both sides have 2 substitution windows remaining. Hartford 3 subs, Pittsburgh 4 subs. Kyle Edwards, remember, left frustrated. Jonathan Jimenez hasn't fared any better since coming on, which again is more of an ode to the frustrations of Kyle Edwards. When he was in the match, nobody found him at any point. There wasn't really much for him to do, and that is transitioned now into Jimenez being in that spot.
At least Jimenez has a bit more juice in his legs, so to speak. And that's what they'll be looking for him to do, run, close down. I would expect Rob Vincent to make some changes fairly soon. I really do feel that, you know, bringing on Jackson Walty, who made that impact against Monterey Bay with a goal and assist, is important. Bringing on Jacqueson as well, with a little bit of flair up front. Give them sort of maybe 10 minutes in this game with the potential for half an hour of extra time. But you never know. You never know what the coach has discussed with the players beforehand, how the team see it.
Looking ahead to Augie Williams. It falls for him. Awkwardly played defensively. Dispe recovers. At 2. Good cut from Sebastian Anderson. Heads him off of the pass, out for a goal kick. 15 minutes remaining of the 90. Possibly 45 remaining altogether if things are going the way they're trending.
It's tense there, no question about it. The players are tense, the coaching staff's tense, fans as well. You just know that it's just one moment is going to change, could potentially change this match in any direction.
Engelina. Augie Williams dropping in very deep. Sample looking to spring down that right side. Charles All, he does. More good defending by TJ Prestis. The lesson that Hartford took out of last week's 1-0 loss to Louisville was just about efficiency. It was a 1-0 defeat. Louisville had their chance, converted it. They wanted to apply that same logic to their own possible playoff victory now here tonight. So with a scoreless scoreline to this point, all it takes is 1, but that goes for both sides. Can Hartford pounce if they find their first attempt since the opening 2 minutes? Can Pittsburgh finally find the breakthrough that's been mounting? If you can't watch the match, turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk. That includes USL All Access on Tuesday nights, plus live matches from the USL, MLS Premier League, and more. That's all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the Sirius XM app. Got emotional this week. It was Forrest Lasso and Leo Fernandez talking about their retirements, some teary-eyed hosts, some teary-eyed interviewees. So you never know what you're going to get on All Access. I think I know what might be leading the conversation next week if things continue the way they are. Loose City still trailing Detroit City, now 7 minutes into the second half. And we will see a change now on the Pittsburgh side. That'll be all for Charles All. He'll be replaced by Jackson Walty.
Yeah, as expected, Jackson Walty is such an impact against Monterey Bay. Fresh legs, he comes on. And then wouldn't be surprised to see Burton Jacques in at some stage in the next 10 minutes as well.
Hasn't necessarily been too keen to use his substitutions early, Rob Vincent, tendency since he's taken over as the interim head coach. He's, in a couple of instances, gone old school, where he's just used 3 subs in 3 windows, and that's it. Forget having 5. Second time, though, now that Dispe has gone down, so that's concerning. He was down for a couple of minutes earlier when Augie Williams had actually come over to check on him. He's carried on the last 10 minutes or so. Now back down again. Seemed to be grabbing at the back of that left leg. If he were unable to continue, now having gone down twice, which we're told will be the case, communicated now from the sideline, Dispe will be subbed off, and it will be Owen Prestis, the 19-year-old, coming on. That's significant. He's had a really intense battle tonight, Dispe, with Augie Williams.
That's a lot for a 19-year-old to deal with, to have to mark a player as good and successful as Augie Williams, but this is where you've got to step up and do the business. If I remember correctly, in one of the previous matches, it was him and his brother who kicked off the line. Was it against Loose City? Where they both kicked off the line in the dying moments to stop a goal from going in. It was against Loose City. So him and his brother have worked well together at the back.
He's here on loan from Columbus Crew. He's been capped at the youth national team level for the United States. Made 51 appearances in the Columbus Crew system and debuted with the Columbus Crew first team in Leagues Cup this summer. In the Leagues Cup showcase against Aston Villa. It's interesting through the years how this league has developed and morphed. Normally when we were talking about a player with Columbus Crew ties entering the field here, it was for the Riverhounds. Those two clubs used to have a partnership. Now it's a Columbus Crew loanee coming in on the side of the visitor in the playoffs for Hartford Athletic. For a coach who's never been shy about playing teenagers. It was a teenage Michien Galina at 18 years of age, 7 years ago on this field with Bethlehem Steel and current Hartford head coach Brendan Burke, who beat Pittsburgh. That night it went all the way to a shootout. It was 1-1 after 90, 2-2 after 120. James Chambers, the head coach of Colorado Springs, scored on a direct free kick that night to send it to the shootout. As a reminder, it's 2 15-minute extra times, no golden goal. 30 minutes will be played in their entirety, and then a shootout if need be. Good step by Sample. The name of the game right now for Hartford is just get it into space, and then whatever happens, happens. Worst case, you're just getting it away from your goal. Best case, somebody like this does something like this. Michien Galina now taking it toward goal. Samaria, option streaking in the box. Floated in, the header. There's no trouble for Eric Dick. First time he's touched the ball in this second half, Eric Dick. That's probably going to go down as his first save since the opening 2 minutes.
That's a header from Samuel Carriaga. Nice play down that left-hand side again, all instigated by that pace of Michien Galina. Shows you there's got possibilities for Hartford, even though they have been doing most of the defending second half. That's why it's, as I say, delicately balanced. It just takes any one moment of skill, of brilliance, of error, whatever it takes, and this match could be settled. You've got Augie Williams on one side who can produce magic, got Michien Galina on the other, also capable of wonderful things, and a host of supporting cast on both sides. Well, it's been a lot for Rob Vincent if this is what his fourth match since becoming acting head coach at Pittsburgh. You've a couple of tough games. Last one was Phoenix, away at Monterey Bay with a good win. A win before that, now a playoff match. He's really getting to experience the life of a head coach in all its variety and all its pressure.
The hairs go gray quickly, especially when you're put into this level of stress right off the bat.
Well, we chatted to him. He was just saying it up. The difference from being that to a sort of deputy coach is, he said, I've got to be the one to put the game plan together. It's my decision. I've got to have a daily message for the players. He said he gets a lot of help from Dan Fisher, who's come down from sporting director to help him. He said those are the decisions that are on you. When you're a assistant, you just follow whatever the coach says, obviously. He said, and that's been the difference. Every day he's got to come up with thoughts and ideas, and I'm sure he's excited by it, but it comes with a lot of pressure.
This is around the time of the game where Pittsburgh conceded to Detroit City 2 years ago, when they were the Players' Shield winners and Detroit City came on the road and won it 1-0. Oh, that sounds familiar as to what's brewing elsewhere right now. Still 1-0 Detroit City at the hour mark.
You're not going to be popular with the Riverhounds fans if you keep bringing up that loss.
Although maybe they would enjoy the company of having somebody else meet the same fate if Louisville City were to lose. And it could be a chance at revenge if Pittsburgh come through here and win this game. It'll be Pittsburgh and Detroit City right here next week. So we'll see. Etu, Vactor. Center back got forward, but lacked the end product. Fish out of water a bit there for Vactor.
A good little half chance, wasn't it, in space? Just sort of creating a few little half chances here on the home side.
Vactor hasn't rotated back down to his position yet. He is hobbling down to the bottom of your screen. Something to keep an eye on. On the strike from Jackson Walty. Always ambitious.
He was thinking back 2 games ago against Monterey Bay. He stuck one in the top corner from the edge of the box. Great finish. That one not quite as good.
The microphone down on the field picked it up for us. Vactor cramping, and you hope that's just all it is. That's what he shouted over toward the bench.
He's been a crucial player. He's been a crucial player for them, Vactor. Just not sure that, well, they have Ilal Osumanu. They could bring him in there. He's experienced enough in defense.
Pittsburgh have used 2 subs and 2 windows. Hartford Athletic have used 3 subs and 2 windows. Does look like Osumanu is suiting up here. And we are told that sub is happening. So that'll be the 3rd sub and 3rd window for Pittsburgh, meaning they won't be able to make another one now until extra time if we get there, when the sides would get an additional window and sub. And they could also use those subs at the interval. So the 2 subs they currently have under normal 90-minute circumstances would go away. They could use those 2 subs during that interval between the 90 and the start of extra time, plus getting that bonus 6th sub. But this is certainly not what they had in mind. The back 3 of Idrach, Suber, and Vactor that has been so stable all year for Pittsburgh. Ilal Osumanu is a very capable veteran replacement here, but you're just adding a variable now on that back line for Pittsburgh, and in a situation where the slightest misplay or misread of a situation, and right away the ball finds it in Osumanu's area, that's all it could take right now. You don't want to introduce too many of these variables.
It's the same on the Hartford side. Owen Prestis has come in defense, so both teams having to juggle around, and that's where these players playing throughout the season and bringing them on it pays dividends now that they feel comfortable slotting in. They know what they have to do, and they've spent enough time playing with their teammates to know the job required.
Long throw from Anderson, flicked on, fouled against Hartford. 2 minutes of the 90 remaining. eFootball is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball, free to play. Download now.
Looks like these fans and everyone watching and ourselves are in for an extra 30 minutes unless something magical happens soon. It has been very tight. There's just been so little. Is that a handball? No. Been so little between these 2 teams over 90 minutes.
Referee acknowledged it, but played the advantage on that handball. Jimenez, Hairston going the wrong direction. Foul goes against Hairston as he brings down Augie Williams. Could be seeing a card here as well. Oh, Hairston thought that he was fouled by Augie Williams. Instead, he's shown a yellow for fouling Augie Williams.
What if he has a case? I'd like to see that again. And it's so tough for referees. We've got to be fair. I'm not sure what happened there. And Eligio Arreguin has to make an immediate decision. Let's have a look here and see who tackles who first.
That's Hairston. He stuck out that right leg.
He did.
Trying to be sneaky about it.
Yeah.
The 31-year-old veteran has seen a lot of time in MLS and USL Championship. Bad injury luck last year, but once he got healthy, He became a centerpiece of the Hartford midfield. Brendan Burke did pick up a yellow card of his own there, just for good measure, as we're in the 90th minute. Had to have figured both these coaches and teams were really going to be in it for the long haul here tonight, knowing this game could very well go the distance. Candidly speaking, you and I, as we looked at all of the playoff matchups coming into the week, and we, went about our possible predictions amongst ourselves. The one thing we said about this game is it really has penalties or 120 written all over it, and we're starting to trend that way. 9 minutes of stoppage time, though, is shown on the board.
Well, that's not a good look for Hartford. Pain on the face of Ingalina there, pointing to his thighs. So that'll be a big loss for them should he not be able to continue.
And they would still be able to make that sub. Remember, it's Pittsburgh that have used the 3 windows and 3 subs. Hartford have used 3 subs, but only 2 windows. So if they need to take him off here, they have the ability to do so. Still haven't seen Haji Berry. Have to imagine whether it's here. Hopefully not. Hopefully Ingalina could carry on. But whether it's here or it's in extra time, we'll be seeing Haji Berry at some point. MVP and Golden Boot winner in 2021. Still has ample opportunity to leave his mark tonight. Coming over for instruction, Owen Prestis, the 19-year-old who subbed on for the injured Arturo Dispe. You mentioned, Gary, that it's been tight between these sides. The numbers bear that out. The combined XG, the expected goals, combined 0.70.
Wow.
So these two teams have combined in the computers to not score a goal in 90 minutes, and that's been the truth. Neither team has scored a goal yet in the 90 minutes.
And that is typical of knockout soccer. Haven't done much in terms of touches in the opposition box. Just 2 for Hartford, 13 for Pittsburgh. But 2 for Hartford suggests they haven't created too much. And if they lose their speedster, Michi Ingalina now, in transition, they become even less dangerous.
I don't like that signal he just made with his hands. It was sort of that universal signal for I pulled something. He is gingerly walking toward the sideline, and it looks like he might be done. That is confirmed. Wow. Michi Ingalina will be subbed off here due to injury. So that changes the complexion if we do indeed head to extra time. It'll be Ingalina off, and Bellu's in. So maybe that was what the instruction was when Prestis was coming off to the sideline and chatting with Brendan Burke. Bellu's is a center back. And it looks like they have pushed Prestis further up the field. Owen Prestis, that is. TJ still on that back line with Farrell and now Bellu's. So it does move some pieces around the board for Hartford having to take Ingalina off. Mertz. Suber feeding it through. Flag stays down. Have to imagine we're going well beyond the 9 minutes, by the way, after that stoppage for the injury. Floated toward Williams, flicked away by Anderson. We didn't pick up playing in stoppage time because of the injury to Ingalina until about 92:30. So we could be venturing above the 100-minute mark here. Centered, still loose in front. Cleared by Prestis. Aaron Barnes lost it to Owen Prestis.
Wow, looked for a moment like there was something going to happen there when that ball got in the box. And there was Pittsburgh Riverhounds players, 2 of them waiting in the box. The ball got whipped across. Some really good play. Lovely touches coming in from Edracht. And there's Robbie Mertz trying to get on the end of that ball. Takes the first touch and then is just stretching. Good defending. Cleared that in the nick of time there.
The Prestis brothers combining. TJ with the block there in the 6th, and then Owen ending the threat further up the field. 70th minute, Detroit City 1, Louisville City nothing. Same scoreline there. Halftime, North Carolina 1, Loudoun nothing. 25th minute, Tulsa, Colorado Springs are scoreless.
Good take there from Eric Dick, came a long way, but grabbed it confidently, just killed the attack, gives his players a chance to move up the pitch. A less than subtle shove in the back there from young Owen Prestis.
Beyond the halfway mark of the 9 minutes that were shown, but again, we expect to go beyond those 9 minutes. That's who thought he was fouled. You scratch your head at the moment and wonder where the goal might come from if it comes for Hartford. Kyle Edwards with a dozen goals has been taken off. Michi and Galina, their other talisman up front, taken off due to injury. You imagine if we get to extra time, we'll see Haji Barry, and there would be your answer to the question. But for now, is it an unlikely source? Is it a messy play in front on a set piece? Can Jonathan Jimenez find a way? He has 2 goals and 2 assists this season, his debut season in the USL Championship. But they don't necessarily have somebody you would look to score right now, Hartford.
Maybe they'll go to penalties. Maybe that's for them a good enough outcome of this match away from home against Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I probably would have settled for penalties at the beginning.
Anderson rifles it in. Well, all of a sudden, the injuries to Hartford going an extra 30 minutes you'd think favors Pittsburgh, the fresher and healthier of the sides. But you just never know in knockout football what may happen at what moment, in what manner. At 2. Through the legs, that 2 brought down, free kick coming, yellow card coming for Morera.
Clever play from Etu there, just waiting for support, didn't come, and so he decided to go himself. Just there, he's waiting, is there any support? And then just there, through the legs, nutmeg. A little bit of contact there, but takes it, wins the free kick, and puts Junior Morera under pressure now with the yellow card. Fans still got the energy, still believe their team's going to get that breakthrough.
Amo believes. Well, the last of the 9 minutes that were given. Again, with the injuries we've seen within stoppage time, we expect this to carry over 100 before we maybe play an extra 30. Mertz swings it in. Goal kick. Man down is Jimenez, holding his head for Hartford.
Game bodies on the line in this match. You've got to go for the ball. You can't allow the opposition to get a header, especially in the dying moments of a knockout match. Have a look, see what happens here. Hard to see who hits who and how, but it's that bravery that counts. It's bodies on the line, and they've defended really well, Hartford. Haven't done much in attack, as the numbers have suggested. Really haven't threatened at the other end. They've defended well, numbers behind the ball, everyone doing their job. Joey Farrell then under his right eye still got that huge bump from the whack he took in the first half.
Well, Pittsburgh sort of experienced this last week in their 0-0 draw against Phoenix. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. It felt like almost a precursor to what tonight could be, and experience that now Pittsburgh can draw upon. Similar conversation to Hartford, losing 1-0 against Louisville on the road. Different result, of course, in the 0-0 draw that Pittsburgh had, but still a tight playoff-like atmosphere against a top team, falling 1-0 on the road. Both these teams coming off those tense battles last week. 15 minutes remaining in Louisville. We're still trailing 1-0 to Detroit City. 34th minute goal by Devin Amumensa holding up there. Pressure from Augie Williams. TJ Prestis turns out of it and clears. Oh, the scoreboard save what would have been our 5th river ball of the night after 11 the whole season. They've seen 4 in the river, none in either goal. Actually, I take that back. We saw 1 in the Pittsburgh goal, but it was negated by an offside 90 seconds into the game. Could this be the final opportunity of regulation? Barnes. Goal kick.
Just think of it, Pittsburgh, just one shot on target the entire match. Yes, they've got wide, they've whipped in a few crosses, some of them haven't been that accurate, but in terms of shooting around the box and that, haven't really tested Siaha that much. The one big save came from a header from Luke Biassi, so shooting-wise, not been the best day in front of goals for the Riverhounds.
12 minutes of stoppage have been played now. Remember, we had that injury to start things off to Michi and Galena. Serve the other way, and Eric Dick climbs above. Owen Prestis to gather. This is felt destined for extra time for quite a while. Just waiting on a whistle to make that official. And there is, oh, no, offside. Jumped the gun. Four additional minutes have been played now, beyond the 9 given. There's the one to end regulation. Scoreless at the end of regulation between Pittsburgh and Hartford. We need 30 more minutes to decide this.
Or maybe even more than 30 minutes. Maybe it does go to penalties, but it hasn't been much from Hartford going forward. Just 2 touches in the opposition box to 16 from Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh certainly, for me, have been the more adventurous at home, but Hartford done a great defending job. They've got 30 more minutes of defending to do, I would suggest. Looking forward to it. I'd love to see a goal from either side. I'll stay neutral, because once you get one goal, then the other team has to come out. That's what we hope for in the next 30 minutes.
Teams will go over to the benches for a quick break, and we'll take a quick break as well. Scoreless at the end of regulation. Into extra time we go between Pittsburgh and Hartford in the Eastern Conference quarterfinal.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Teams huddled up over by their benches, scoreless at the end of regulation. To 30 minutes of extra time we go. And in these first 15 minutes, we'll see at least one change on the Pittsburgh side. Bertrand Jacquesson. The closing moments. So to extra time we go. 2 15-minute halves, no golden goal. We'll play the 30 minutes in their entirety. We'll go to penalties beyond that if need be. Usually here, Renegade down the river for the Steelers when they need it in the fourth quarter. A big defensive stop. They'll bring it over around the bend here for this set of black and yellow.
I think for Hartford, without some of their star strikers now, it really is a defensive job. Just tie this match down for 30 minutes, get to penalties. That's 50-50 there. Well, you never know. There's the likes of Moreira, fresh legs, 22-year-old. Maybe he can do something magical for the visiting side.
So Hartford used 4 subs in regulation. Pittsburgh have now used 4 subs as well, making that change, bringing on Jacquesson before extra time. So both sides will have 2 changes remaining, getting the additional sub into extra time, and away we go in extra time. Pittsburgh and Hartford, a spot in next week's conference semifinal on the line as it stands, with Louisville City trailing Detroit City 1-0 in the 82nd minute. Whoever comes through here would host Detroit City next week, instead of what was perceived to have been and thought to have been a difficult trip to Louisville. You never know when we get into the playoffs here in the USL Championship. And we could get a very swift reminder of that if Detroit City are to knock out Louisville City. Sumanu lost it to Prestis. Owen Prestis. Hairston, Anderson. I think the big lingering question still is, when will we see Haji Barry? Part of our conversation with Brendan Burke was just about Haji Barry's fitness level. Again, coming in from a long-term knee injury that he had before he was acquired by Hartford. They still haven't gotten him up to full capacity. In a conversation we had in the first half, Gary, it's the strategy of an extra time game like this. Normally you'd bring on somebody like that whose minutes are limited at the 60-minute mark, but you can't really do that. Your hands are tied tonight because had you have brought Hadji Barry on at the 60-minute mark, then you're asking him to play an hour. And I don't know that he's able to do that at the present time. So now it becomes, well, when in extra time do you bring him on for that jolt? We'll see.
Yeah, he could be a very good penalty taker as well. So that comes into play. But also keep an eye out for Bertrand Jacqueson on the other side here for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Player who has a touch on him that is top class. And he can turn a match around. His background, he started off at Strasbourg in France. So, I mean, he's a real quality background, and every once in a while you see him ping a ball or strike a ball and go, wow, he's got something special. So let's see if Bertrand Jacqueson can impact this match for the Riverhounds today.
High line here in anticipation of this service from Anderson. Pittsburgh holding a line well outside the 18. They'll collapse back into it now. Anderson drives it forward with backspin. No trouble at all defensively for the Riverhounds. Look, both of these teams would like to win it before penalties. It feels like the onus is more upon Pittsburgh to do that, and Hartford of the two sides would be the more okay with going to penalties.
I would agree with you there. And I'm sure Pittsburgh will keep pushing to try and get that victory, because once you go to penalties, it's 50-50. It really is a lottery. And given that they're away from home, Hartford, given that they've lost the likes of Dispay at the back and Ingalina, even Kyle Edwards taken off, that was their decision, but they've lost their sort of match winners and their important players. Just to get to penalties might be considered a good outcome for Brendan Burke and his coaching staff.
Jacqueson streaking down the middle. There wasn't really a moment or an angle for Mertz to get it over that way. Throw coming for Hartford, although Mertz took exception with getting nudged into the advertising board. '86th minute, Detroit City 1, Louisville City nothing.
Wow, still 1-0. That could be an incredible result. Given how awesome Lou City have been this season, breaking records left, right, and center, being at home against a struggling Detroit City, to be fair to them, just sort of scraped into the playoffs.
Could be something on here for Pittsburgh. Robbie Mertz orchestrating, feeds it wide at 2. Out for a corner, brought to you by Cohen Markets.
Mertz just tripped up on the edge of the box. Referee didn't see anything wrong with it. So Mertz goes across to take the corner. Back to that conversation again about, can a set piece be the deciding factor? Very difficult to win the ball in the center of the box. Generally, set pieces work when you get a near post flick on, because once you flick it on, then nobody knows where it's going. We'll just wait to see if they can do that here with Robbie Mertz putting the ball in.
Attacking the end of the field where the Steel Army waits in anticipation in this first half of extra time. Mertz drops it in, loose in front, almost off of Bellows and in. That's sometimes what it takes in these games. A bit of luck or bad luck, depending on which side of the fence you're on.
Pittsburgh needed someone in the center of that box to finish that off. They managed to get it past the near post. No one got a touch in it. All the defenders missed it as well. So job done in that sense. But you still need someone to finish it off. There was nobody there for Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Samaria. Finishing up that note on Louisville in that last conversation. They were unbeaten at home this year, 12-0-3. So that would come tumbling down. And their only loss in the regular season came back on June 20th on the road against North Carolina when they were shorthanded after a Jägermeister Cup match that week where they rotated players. So they would have their first loss in nearly 5 full months and their only loss at home after setting the points per game record in the regular season.
And it's almost similar to the same as last season when they were absolutely brilliant, lost the first playoff match at home to Rhode Island. So poor Danny Cruz, if this result holds.
Augie Williams for Etu. Hartford felt that ball was out, but you have to just continue until you hear a whistle. Now roped in toward the back post. Pressuring was Barnes. Ball still loose. Cleared up the middle. That's a no-no, but Hartford gets away with it. Long ball, Dick awkwardly comes through with it.
Eric took a little bit of a risk there when he had two defenders against the one striker. Probably didn't need to get involved, but came, got the ball, and I guess that's all that counts.
Nine previous meetings between these two sides here at Highmark. 7 Pittsburgh wins, 1 Hartford win, 1 draw. It's been a mismatch through the years, which makes sense, with this again being Hartford's first true playoff matchup outside of that COVID year in 2020. And we were put into those regionalized divisions. Hartford have struggled through the years. They've churned through coaches, churned through the roster. Pittsburgh have been a constant with 8 straight playoff appearances. Hartford looking for their first ever playoff victory. Jacquesin. Goal for Hartford.
I'm just looking at the goal scorers from their previous 2 meetings this season. It was Griffin who got the goal in the first match. He's still on the pitch. The second match, it was Charles All. He's off. Despay, he's off. And Chase Boone's not on. So far, the only one who has scored this season in either of these meetings is Danny Griffin. Just wonder if he can do it again. Settle this match in extra time without having to go to penalties. I'm sure there's a lot of neutrals saying, you know what, we like penalties, we like the drama, let's go for it.
Yeah, there's a certain sect of fans, to be sure, that once you get this far, it's that sort of mantra of, well, we didn't come this far just to get this far. Let's go the whole way,
yeah.
And see how this goes in penalties. We still got a ways to go before that becomes a reality. 5 more minutes to go in this first half of extra time. And a first half of extra time that has taken on the identity of the first 90 minutes that we saw.
One thing that has surprised me is after about 60-odd minutes, started to get very chippy, and yellow cards were coming out, and I thought, oh, this could really get out of control. Since then, both teams, to be fair to them, have calmed it down and just focused on playing the game.
Anderson. Long throw from Anderson. Teams will switch ends after a brief halftime of sorts. 2 minutes to regroup at the benches. Go at it again. Took a shootout 7 years ago when a Brendan Burke-led Bethlehem Steel came here in the postseason. Shootout won by Brendan Burke's side. Now at the helm of this Hartford group. Barnes. Haven't really called Augie Williams' name all that much, especially not as of late. But he's always lurking, and you never know when he can latch on to a moment. Sumanu into space, threads it through on the turn. Griffin picks out Barnes. Barnes on the ground, out for a Cohen Markets corner, and Augie Williams was the one lurking at that near post.
That's a good move there from the Riverhounds. You can see Anthony Siaha saying, come on guys, focus. They allowed them to play through them there into a very dangerous position and nearly could have got something out of that. And that's good play from the Riverhounds. Of course, you know, after all this running around, players getting tired physically, and then of course your mental decision making not as good, and that's where the errors can come in. That's why everyone's pumping each other up, saying come on, get the adrenaline flowing, keep that focus even when you're tired.
Mertz drops it in, a lot of contact there in the middle. Pittsburgh was asking for a penalty at this stage of the game. I don't know many referees with the courage to give a penalty on something like that, but it's another Cohen Markets corner for Pittsburgh.
You'd have to see something very clearly, wouldn't you, to give a penalty?
It would have to be borderline of felony in the box to get a penalty at this point. Whipped in again by Mertz. And he'll do it again. There was contact again. This time it was against Pittsburgh, so Hartford feels they should be with a free kick coming out. Hairston's already on a yellow and has to make sure he doesn't get himself sent off here.
No, you're right. And the other players are trying to calm him down. He's not listening to them. Something happened. I think the referee said you took the corner before the whistle or whatever it was, but can't argue with the referee. Just get on with the game.
There's a minute to go between Louisville and Detroit. 1-0 Detroit City. That is about to go final.
Incredible.
Mertz drops it in. Better service in the back post. It was there. It was glanced on. It looked like Suber in the mix, but wide.
That was one of the chances they've been waiting for, to win a header from a set piece, flick it on and hope it goes towards one of your players, and they weren't far off finding someone at the far post there. He knows it, Sean Suber. He scored 2 goals himself last 3 games. And that one there, he was just trying to set up the assist. And Hartford living dangerously, not threatening much. They've got Owen Prestis almost as a centre forward. The young man has been pushed up front with his fresh legs just to close things down. So it's a really makeshift shape they've got going here, Hartford.
Closing 40-odd seconds of this first half of extra time. Final whistle just went. Detroit City wins it 1-0 in Louisville as our whistle goes here to end the first half of extra time. So there's actually a possibility now that both benches will be clued into that, and these two teams might know in this second half of extra time, Gary, that they're battling to host Detroit City next week.
That should be a motivation, but I think they're motivated anyway, both these sides. They're so close to grabbing a goal and winning it or getting it to penalties, but you're right. With all due respect to Detroit, you would fancy to play them at home as opposed to playing Lou City at Lynn Family Stadium, but there's a job here to be done. Before you can even be thinking of that, you have got to get through here. And for Pittsburgh, I think your comment's a fair one. If you're the home side, you seem to be more settled. You haven't had as many injuries as Hartford have. You've got to go and win it now in this final 15 minutes. For Hartford, it's just defend as well as they have been doing, which has been top class, get it to penalties, and if we can sneak a goal, well, then we grab it.
While we wait to get things going in the second half of extra time here, let's show you how it went down. It was Devin Amu-Mensah off of a corner, sneaking to the back post. That was it, 34th minute, and held up the rest of the way.
That's that flick on. You see unmarked there, but those flick-ons at the near post are so dangerous from set pieces because you don't know where the ball's going, so you can't mark up But wow, what a result. Congratulations, Detroit City. I honestly never thought they had a prayer against Lou City at Lynn Family Stadium. This is an amazing game. Sometimes you can be so surprised. And tough for Lou City to break all the records for the second year running and get knocked out at the very first hurdle in the playoffs.
Last year they did get by North Carolina in the opening game, but then lost in that second game to Rhode Island. Still, same for all intents and purposes. It was a lot earlier of an exit than they would have hoped it would be in back-to-back years. And now the stage is set here again. There's no reseeding. It's a straight bracket. So whoever wins this game now, whether it's in these next 15 or it's in penalties, will host Detroit City now next week. Pittsburgh right to left in the black and yellow. Hartford left to right in the white. We'll play 15 more minutes. That much we know. What we don't know is if one of these two sides will be celebrating at the end of the 15 or if we will go to a shootout. Glad to have had you with us the whole way here tonight. Alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malfa, and to the final 15 we go.
I haven't seen enough, by the way, for Pittsburgh Riverhounds of Burton Jacqueson getting on the ball. Again, he's a match-winning type of player. And if I'm one of the likes of Jackson Walty and Perrin Barnes and all these players, Danny Griffin, I am looking to try and get that ball to Jacqueson whenever I can to see if he could just turn this match around for me.
Will we see Hartford go into an even deeper bunker now in this final 15 and just hope for penalties, or will they try to find something still of their own? Will we see Haji Berry? I think that's been the biggest burning question, without knowing if there is a more restrictive minutes limit on him. Still trying to get up to full health. That wasn't communicated our way before game, and he is dressed.
There's only 15 minutes left, so I'm assuming he's okay for 15, otherwise he probably wouldn't be on the bench. Maybe they'll throw him on fairly soon and say, look, just, you know, give it what you can for 10 minutes and then take penalties if required. Just depends on whether he has the ability to run and defend, because that's what they're going to want now, Brendan Burke. Whoever comes on has got to do a shift in defending, and if he hasn't got those sort of legs in him, to sprint and stop and sprint, then it isn't worth bringing him on.
Edrach. Good idea to try to slip it into Griffin in the pocket. Execution wasn't there. Second time that Mertz has sort of gone in that turtle position. Earlier he was called for it. This time he finally does draw the foul.
Well, I didn't see much difference between the two, to be honest. Unless there was a handball in the first one that we didn't see. Perhaps it was something like that. But the referee, Elio Adegen's been really good.
Whipped in toward Williams.
Just going to say, the referee's been really good for me. He's called the decision spot on. He's calmed things down when they got a little bit out of hand. And he's seeing everything instantly. He doesn't have the chance to have the slow motion replays we get. And I still think he's been spot on. So very good refereeing so far from Eligio Aregin.
Looking in behind for Jacqueson. Is that another river ball? Gary, we've done it. This has got to be some sort of individual evening record here. 5th of the night, 16th of the year. Almost a third of the splash balls have come here tonight. And not much else. Griffin.
Yeah, you know it's been a quiet game when that becomes a feature of the match. How many balls you've kicked into the river?
My question is now, how many active referee-approved game balls even are there? Because we might be running thin with 5 gone, unless those have been retrieved. Winner hosts Detroit City. Heavy tackle there. Bellu's coming through. Free kick coming, and so too is a yellow.
Yeah, very late, no question about it. He put his hand up straight away. Just got to hope that Augie Williams is okay. It's not Augie Williams, in fact, is it? It's Junior Etu. It's way, way late as a tackle goes. But he didn't argue, put his hand up and said, yep, let's move on.
Etu still laid out on the turf.
Rob Vincent just having a chat with his coaching staff. Of course, a star striker in his own right.
Can he sub himself in?
He can make a difference. I think the year 2015, he scored 21 goals that season. Really, really good striker for the Riverhounds. You can see that, oh, you just missed it. There's a big shiner there on the face of Joe Farrell for Hartford from that collision early on. And there is the coach, Rob Vincent, former striker.
Well, we had the conversation early. We said we'd table it for later. It's later. They said that this week they trained penalties. They had their own individual shootout amongst themselves. They had 4 or 5 guys who they trusted first and foremost to take penalties so long as they were on the field. But Rob Vincent, being a former striker who's been in that position himself, said he would ask everybody individually to make sure they were still up for it.
Yeah, they had their penalty shootout against Portland Hearts of Pine earlier in the year. They scored 4 out of 5, and he said neither Augie or Robbie Hertz was playing that day. Robbie Mertz, so they've got them both available. And scoring 4 out of 5, it gives them a lot of confidence. So they feel if it does go to penalties, they feel as good as they could feel about their chances.
Mertz to the back post, doesn't get all the way through. Walty keeps it on. And Osumanu whistled for the foul.
Yeah, a bit of a shove in the back there of TJ Prestis. No rush, I don't think, from Hartford. At this stage, they've done a really good defensive job here. And they want to see it through to penalties. And then it goes to the goalkeepers, Eric Dick and Anthony Siaha. You mentioned it early on in the match, but 2 top-class keepers who would make it very difficult in the penalty shootout for the opposition, along with all the drama that comes with it.
We've alluded to it throughout the evening, Gary. You've called attention to it. It's just not there for Hartford territorially. 91 final third entries have amounted to 3 touches in the 18-yard box.
Yeah, they haven't got their offense going at all. Even when Mishi Ngalina was on the pitch and Kyle Edwards was on, they couldn't get it going. But, you know, sometimes in those situations you look to defending and just having a good defensive day, and they certainly have been top class defensively, Hartford. If that gets them to the next round, then they can rethink their attacking ideas.
You get there any way you can. Doesn't have to be pretty. Nobody ever said it had to be.
It's just a worrying sort of trend, you know, 2 losses back to back, a match in which they have hardly created a chance.
Here's Bertrand Jacquesson. And he commits the foul in the end after he lost control.
Frustrated with himself. There was a couple of runners there, one left, one inside. He had options, and you could see the options. We said he's a very good IQ player, football IQ. He just couldn't find the space in which to get that pass off. And 13 appearances for Real Salt Lake as well, Jacquesson. Along with Strasbourg, that's a pretty good background he's got in the world of soccer. I think both goalkeepers with 5 minutes to go are probably trying not to think of penalties, because you don't want to take your mind off the game and make a mistake and then you don't get to penalties. But at the same time, it's just sitting at the back of your head thinking, oh, it could be a big moment for me coming up very soon, because penalty shootouts generally are positive for keepers. You're not expected to make the save, so it's a chance to be a hero.
Somewhere between 75 and 80%, I believe, is the expected conversion rate on those penalties. So as a keeper, if you succeed only 20% of the time, you've done a good job.
Yep.
Pressure's on the kick takers.
You very rarely get a hug as a goalkeeper. You're never celebrating the goals with anyone, but the one time you will get a ton of hugs from your team is if you make that match-winning penalty save. So it's your one little moment for glory.
We're going to get two more Hartford subs. Jack Panayotu and Haji Berry all ready to come on for Marlon Hairston and Jonathan Jimenez. Here come the changes. So we finally have the answer to our question on Haji Berry. But this late with 4 minutes to go, not sure how much he could impact the actual happenings other than to take a penalty.
I think that's the plan. These are two good penalty takers. They must have practiced in the week, and Marlon Hairston's done well. He's really battled. He's got a bit chippy and got in the referee's face a few times and could have got himself in trouble, but overall he's been a real battler in midfield on a day, and it's been a fantastic defensive performance by Hartford.
Well, with Michi and Galena getting hurt early and Barry coming back from an injury, working up to full fitness, we never did actually get to see Galena and Barry combined tonight as we expected to, and expected to be a key feature of this game. For Hartford, your focus is just on getting through, but then you wonder how fit Michi and Galena could be for next week. Which again, for either of these sides now, next week would be hosting Detroit City. Samaria looking through for Prestis. Cleared by Perrin Barnes. In that conference quarterfinal that Hartford played in back in 2020, they did host and lose to St. Louis. That's it. It's their only playoff game ever. So they're looking to advance past the playoff round for the first time ever tonight in order to host their second ever playoff game, but it'll be their first playoff game in front of fans. Still not out of the woods yet. Etu, a Colin Markets corner coming in the 118th minute.
It's time for yet another Cohen corner kick.
Keep knocking those set pieces in the box. At some stage, someone's got to get a flick on. Someone's got to get on the end of something. Is this the chance?
Robbie Mertz delivering. And cleared on the backside by Samaria.
Interesting, 9 corners for Pittsburgh, just the 1 for Hartford. They haven't been able to make any of those count, Pittsburgh.
A 6th ball in the river, by the way, on that clearance. Elsewhere, North Carolina still up 1-0 on Loudon in the 81st minute. Almost fell for Mertz, who was eyeing up a hit at goal on the volley. Free kick for Pittsburgh, who are set to make a change. It was played quickly on the free kick. Lumped in again towards Suber. Williams was waiting. At 2. Augie Williams couldn't get it over the head of Morera. Kept alive here, deflected. Nearly for Suber. He's parking it up top now, Suber, as an aerial threat. The center back. Just a minute, though, to go now.
Brandenburg just saying, calm it all down. We're almost there. Question marks as to why that was a free kick. Pittsburgh feel it was a fair header to have been won, but looks like it's all come down to penalties now. Hartford's clearly in no rush to take it.
Where would you say Hartford in this game made the decision for penalties? About the 65th, 70th minute? That's what it's felt like.
I think when Mishi and Galina came off, they realized that they'd lost that transitional pace that so scared Pittsburgh in the first 5 to 10 minutes. That was when they really had their best chances, Hartford.
With 2 minutes of stoppage tacked on.
That's an extra 2 minutes to make some noise.
Poke through. Robbie Mertz blocked by Farrell. It's a battle-tested Hartford team that's picked up big wins and big moments on the road this year. Chief among them, winning Jägermeister Cup out west on the road in Sacramento. That battle testing has boded them well tonight. Goals at such a premium in the playoffs. Stepping up, it's Anderson, weaving it through. Haji Berry back heel along. Panayotu was lurking. Something maybe for Hartford you could sense in the moment. That's really the first time they've entered the box in extra time.
In a long, long time, even before extra time. But Haji Berry there, just a little possibility of doing something special and winning the game for Hartford. Tried the back heel, didn't quite come off. Long throw, because could be the last little set piece for this match.
Long throw from Anderson. Cleared back his way, he can heave it again. Anderson. Got the flick on, but it was right off of Griffin. 2 minutes come and gone. There's the whistle. We've seemed destined for penalties for a while. The destiny's fulfilled. Finishing 0-0 after 120, Gary.
Good effort by Hartford to defend. Pittsburgh, they were more the protagonists. They created the opportunities. They'll feel a little bit annoyed to be going to penalties. Hartford, great defense all round. Joe Farrell, just absolutely brilliant. TJ Prestis, Sebastian Anderson, he had applause, I think, for his defense there. They've done a great job in front of him, Anthony Siaha. Now it's a 50-50 game, and as I say, I think they would have settled for that, Hartford, especially given the injuries to Mishi and Galina in particular. So over it goes to who's going to be a hero and who's going to be a zero.
We'll take a quick break here. When we come back, the shootout between Pittsburgh and Hartford for a spot in next week's game at home against Detroit City.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win the championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams? To build them from scratch, from the heart. For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
All comes down to this. Teams in their respective huddles. Kick takers have been selected. We are ready for the shootout. Pittsburgh and Hartford goalless after 120. Take a look back at the highlights from extra time, which did see a couple of moments, mainly on the Pittsburgh side, which was the tail of the first 90 as well.
Yeah, Pittsburgh certainly the aggressors. This one here, no one in the right position. Augie Williams had gone back post instead of sitting somewhere in the middle. You can see there, if he just takes a couple of steps forward and gets in that middle space, he would have been on the end of that. And they kept pushing forward, kept trying to get something. Nice little turn here, played out wide, whipped in, and doesn't reach Augie at all. And you got to say, well done, Hartford. They blocked every attempt that Pittsburgh had to try and break them down. Corner coming in as well. That header, that's from Sean Suber, trying to find someone at the far post. Once again, didn't come off. Unlucky perhaps for Pittsburgh. Good defending by Hartford Athletic.
All those highlights brought to you by Corona. The coin toss to decide the end of the field. Who kicks first? That's all been done and dusted. It is the end opposite the Steel Army. So some fans have tried to start the migration over to the other end. All eyes on the goalkeepers in moments like this. The 31-year-old Eric Dick, journeyman, Sporting Kansas City, FC Tulsa, Phoenix, Columbus, Indy, Minnesota, now his second year in Pittsburgh. On the other side, Anthony Siaha, very different journey. Came out of nowhere, a year in Niso with San Diego 1904, a season of indoor soccer with the San Diego Sockers, then the San Diego Loyal for 2 years, mainly as a backup, Monterey Bay starter the last couple of years, and now the starter here in Hartford. Very different journeys. Eric Dick was number 13 overall pick in the MLS drafts and has got about his career. And those two very deviant paths end up leading at the same juncture here on opposite ends of a shootout in the USL Championship playoffs. And it's Haji Berry who will step up first. We saw him sub on with 4 minutes to go in the second half of extra time. Acquired back at the beginning of September. 2021 Golden Boot winner and MVP in this league.
And normally you start with your best penalty taker to try and get ahead, so that's probably why he's come on with a few minutes to go, because they really fancy that he can finish this off and put them in a good position.
To get Hartford off on the right foot against Eric Dick. Anthony Siaha is not even watching on the top of your screen. Barry, saved by Dick!
Good save from the goalkeeper. Not the best penalty, especially for someone who you've brought on specifically to be a penalty taker. In fact, he had to use his foot. It didn't even go much away from the middle of the goal. Perhaps he was trying to go down the middle and didn't get it right. Shakes his head, and that's frustrating for him and for Brendan Burke, who's brought him on specifically to get his team into a lead.
Eligio Araguin is having a word with Eric Dick. It doesn't seem like there's any indication of a retake of any sorts here, but maybe a warning if he did perceive him to be further off the line than he should have been. So it's Bertrand Jacquesson stepping up now for Pittsburgh. Anthony Siaha with some mind games, taking his sweet time to get in between the posts. Jacquesson has dealt with injuries this year. Just 1 goal this season in 22 games after he had 5 goals and 7 starts last year. He was their big September acquisition last year, and he paid dividends down the stretch. Siaha starting at the extreme right of his goal, now rotating in the middle. Again, Jacquesson. Bertrand Jacquesson scores! Freezing Siaha after 1 round, Pittsburgh up by 1.
Now the pressure heaps on whoever comes up next for Hartford, because you can't afford to miss. He's not quite sure. Maybe he'd already decided he was going to go one way. You can see the frustration on his face. He hasn't even attempted to dive for the ball, and that to suggest to me that he'd already shifted his weight in the opposite direction. Now here's a pressure penalty, if ever.
Sporting that shiner on his right eye, underneath the right eye, Joe Farrell picked that up in the opening few minutes of the game in a collision with Eric Dick, who he now faces in the shootout. Joe Farrell just sneaks it in. Oh, Dick got a piece of it, but couldn't keep it out.
Oh, Eric Dick is so frustrated. He read it right. He does get the touch. Have a look there, and he tips it onto the post. A little bit more, and it would have hit the post and come out there. It hit the post and went in, and that would have been all over for Hartford, you would think. So vital, vital goal there for Joe Farrell.
Robbie Mertz steps up, looking to put Pittsburgh back on top and stay perfect. Very active all night long, Robbie Mertz. It's Mertz scoring calmly, sending Siaha the wrong way. The lead is still 1 after 2 for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, look at the crowd behind them as well, Pittsburgh. So they're in a great position. Doesn't mean to say they can't blow it from here, but with all that fan adulation around them and positive vibes, you would think they should go on and win it from here.
Jack Peniotto steps up on loan to Hartford. Last year was on loan to Rhode Island, part of that team that made it all the way to the USL final. The runners up to Colorado Springs. Dick saved the first, tipped the second, now faces a third. A lot of pressure on the shoulders of the young Peniotto as he steps up and scores brilliantly into the ceiling of the net. No saving that, even if Dick had guessed the right way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just too good a penalty. That's the way you would like to take them. As you say, even if you go the right way, it's going to be too high for you because you generally dive down low. Fantastic penalty under a lot of pressure.
So the pressure shifts back to Pittsburgh to try and maintain this lead. Augie Williams steps up. He was one of the players that Rob Vincent mentioned would almost assuredly take a penalty if we got this far and he was still in the game. Here he is. A couple of his 9 goals this year were scored from the spot. Can Siaha come up big? It's Williams. Brilliant again.
It seemed like Siaha went very early because as Augie gets to it, he just turns his foot and plays it to the empty side of the goal. Have a look. As he's about to take it, Siaha's already gone. I think if you're going to go early, you don't want to go quite that early. Either way, you got the goal, Augie Williams. And that's all the kick. You see how pumped up he is.
3-2 after 3. A miss here, and Pittsburgh would be able to clinch it with their next kick. It's a long run upcoming. Has to score, and he skies it. Covering his head in his jersey, Samuel Carriaga. Now Pittsburgh on the brink.
That's a bad penalty. He's really gone for that top corner, but that's the pressure you get put under when you face a good goalkeeper and you're away from home and everything else. And now he has to make the save, Siaha, or they're out.
And it's Sean Suber who steps up, the center back who has been the unsung hero of Pittsburgh all season long. He's the league leader in clearances defensively. He's Pittsburgh's leader in passes. So much flows through him, though the attention and the spotlight is never on him. Poetically so, it is now. He scores, they host Detroit City next week with a chance to avenge their 2023 loss to Le Rouge. Sean Suber, nerves of steel, and Pittsburgh are through to the conference semifinal.
Look at the celebrations, brilliant. Wow, overall they probably deserve it. They've created more chances, they've come closer. It's been a great defensive performance by Hartford, but they didn't offer anything going forward, and ultimately they've paid the price. But well done, Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Brilliant, brilliant. And now, again, with all due respect to Detroit, they've got Detroit at home as opposed to Lou City away. They have a real chance of going a long way into this tournament.
Last year losing in the first round to Charleston. 2 years ago losing in the first round to Detroit City. This their first playoff win since 2022. We'll show you how it finished.
Okay, Siaha going the wrong way, but this time he didn't go too early. There's not much you can do. As a goalkeeper, you guess. You're going to get most of them wrong probably. But Sean Suber just totally cool, totally relaxed. He scored 2 goals in the last 3 games after not scoring all season. He scored the crucial penalty. Overall, probably a deserved win for Pittsburgh, and tough for Hartford, who've had an unbelievable season, and once again today were defensively fantastic.
Celebrations continuing here at Highmark Stadium. I'm sure some of these fans, if not all of them, know by now that they will be hosting again next week. We'll look at the smooth save of the game presented by Smoothie King. Rule today. Eric Dick ruled today, saving the first penalty from Hajiberi.
Good save with his foot. He's looking to catch it with his hand, and he sees that the ball has gone more or less down the middle, so he follows it up with his knee and foot and makes a vital first save that put all the pressure on Hartford.
Eric Dick did what he had to do when called upon. Sean Suber had his moment in the sun as the 4th kick taker. And all of a sudden, like you said, Gary, now, it's not a trip to Louisville. It's welcoming Detroit City and the couple of through-line players, the Danny Griffins, the Robbie Mertz of the world. Now it's a chance for them to avenge that defeat from 2 years ago.
Man, it won't be easy. It'll be a very physical match against a tough Detroit side, but there's enough quality in this Pittsburgh team to beat the likes of Detroit, especially when you get Robbie Mertz out wide, and if you can get some service to Augie Williams, Danny Griffin, and they're so solid at the back anyway, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, that their fans must feel very excited about this next upcoming game and the possibilities going forward.
Modelo, man of the match, Sean Suber. It's good to see him let out some of the emotion. He's, again, just been such an unsung hero. We had a good conversation with Rob Vincent about what Sean Suber means. Gary, it's the central midfielders, it's the center backs, the players in this world that never really get the attention. They're usually the ones who get the fingers pointed at them if something goes wrong defensively. So it's fitting that it's Sean Suber getting all the love here tonight.
That's wonderful. But they've all done a job here. Jim Vactor had to come off injured. He did a job in defense. Luke Biasi up front in the midfield. It's a solid team, this, and for Rob Vincent now 4 matches in charge, 3 wins and a draw. He'll be thinking this is easy being a coach.
Take a look now at the bracket after the opening night. So you've got Detroit City, who beat Louisville City 1-0, and then on penalties it's Pittsburgh through over Hartford. So next week, Gary, it's Pittsburgh, it's Detroit City. We've talked a little bit about it, but first, overall impressions of that match as we see it for next week.
A tough game, a physical game. Detroit will come here and do a similar job to, I presume, what they did against Lou City, shut them down, physically dominate them. This will be a more difficult team. Pittsburgh are used to that. They can stand up to the physical stuff. They have good touch players as well. They'll be at home in front of their great crowd on this turf pitch. They have to be favorites, but again, they might have to dig in like they've done today if they're going to get through to the next round.
It was tight all evening long. It's what we expected coming into the week. Gary, you and I were chatting, and among some of our colleagues, if there was a game in the postseason this week that was going to go the distance, it was going to be this one. Sure enough, it did. And it's Pittsburgh who ends up celebrating the victory. There's a couple other games going on right now. FC Tulsa, Colorado Springs, scoreless with 20 to go. New Mexico and San Antonio are a half an hour in. About to kick off El Paso, Phoenix. So more to come tonight, 2 more to come tomorrow. But we know now Pittsburgh going through over Hartford on penalties. The crew that makes this possible, my broadcast partner Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malpa saying so long for now. Pittsburgh Riverhounds will host Detroit City in the conference semifinal next week. Good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.